Madam Speaker.
Prayer.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the office of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity. We beseech you to look upon the abundant favor of your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important trust in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner to promote you and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their charge.
Item 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, if you're not from the front desk, leave it. I want the whole world to see that there is nobody in the front desk. An appointments committee, I want you to be very, very vigilant and see that next time when you're going for appointments, these are some of the things you must look at. We have appointments committee in this house, and where I'm a chair, we approved 83 ministers. We only have one. Only one. Honorable members, I want to welcome you to this afternoon sitting. And I must say this, I am not happy with the front desk. And the whole house is not happy with that front desk. Whatever we are going to discuss here, we need responses from the ministers, but we don't have ministers. And I really don't know why the ministers behave that way. I am actually the front bench persons cannot be, they don't listen. I am tired of complaining. I am even tired of getting annoyed with them. Because even if you get annoyed, they will not change. Last week, and I think before we take an action on one person, they will not change it. Honorable Government Chief Whip, there is a big problem. Big problem. I don't know whether they've informed you that they are not coming. The front bench members, have they informed you?
Right Honorable Prime Minister, Right Honorable Speaker, and honorable members. First of all, I would wish to join you in also condemning the non-appearance of colleague ministers. We are all aware that Parliament starts at 2 p.m. and it is 3 minutes past 2. The only apologies I have are two. One from the Right Honorable Prime Minister, who is attending a meeting with His Excellency the President at State House Nakasero, and the Honorable Margaret Muhooga, the Minister of State for Health, who has written to you indicating that even the other two colleagues, ministers from Ministry of Health, won't be able to attend Parliament today. Those are the apologies that I have. The rest were duly notified, and the order paper for today was sent yesterday by the Government Chief Whip on the Forum for Cabinet 2021-2026. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Government Chief Whip. It is really absurd that we can have a front bench with only 2 ministers. There is another hustler entering. Honorable members, last week I raised concern over the magnitude and the cost of the road accidents in Uganda, and I informed the House that the chairperson of the Committee of Health, that's Dr. Ayume Charles, had conducted a study on the magnitude of the road traffic accidents and the injuries that are reported in public hospitals. Honorable members, you will allow me to validate the order paper today and accord Honorable Ayume space immediately after my communication to give us a brief report on the accident so that we understand what we are going through. I don't know if he's in. Honorable members, last week, we also debated on the report on the issues of sports. I'm happy the Minister of Sports is here. He will be giving us an update because today was supposed to bring a bill, but he informed me the bill is being processed, but we would love to hear from him himself. So we'll be very grateful to hear from you, Honorable Minister. And I gave the Committee of Legal and the Parliamentary Affairs, and then the Committee of Gender 10 days to bring the bills. We have the two bills, legal aid, and then the other bill on employment. I want to put a house on notice that the bill on legal aid is ready and it will be presented tomorrow. The committee has already finished its work, and the National Legal Aid Bill 2022, which is a private member's bill, will be presented to the floor tomorrow. So your notice on that. Honorable members, on a sad note, we lost one of our staff yesterday on a border accident. And this is Mr. Bahati. He is a driver in the office of the Deputy Speaker. He was knocked dead while on a border. May we rise and observe a moment of silence in his honor.
May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Honorable members, in the past weeks, this House has raised matters concerning the issue of road accidents, especially on borders. The safety of our road depends on the road users. That's one thing we need to note. The vehicles themselves, the cyclists themselves, and then anybody who is on the road, and then the road condition. These factors influence the safety of our people. And short of that, then we have a problem. While the government continues to devise means of effectively regulating border operations, like as you hear now, they need the elements. Borders are supposed to have elements, and a lot has been put, a lot of effort has been put on enforcement of safety standards, especially on elements and reflectors. I am wondering if one cannot cause an accident when he's on a reflector. If he's not on an element, whether he cannot cause an accident. The issue would be the behavior of this border people. How do they behave? Are they qualified enough to ride the bicycles? You find most of our youth come from up country. They come to town. Somebody buys a border for 2 days and is riding in Kampala. He does not know how to ride. Now, the persons who are supposed to regulate do not do their parts. Instead of regulating how somebody is given a license, how testing, that is not done. So you find somebody getting a border and is riding, putting people's lives at risk. This is very, very unfortunate. Yesterday I was with the commissioner and somebody was telling us a story that when a kid was young, a kid pierced his eye. When he grew up, he asked the father, "What happened to my eye?" The father said, "You got a knife and pierced it." Then he said, "But you had all the powers. Couldn't you stop it? We have all the powers in this country. Can't we stop these accidents? Can't we reduce the accidents? Can't we have the regulations in place? Can't the people be tested?" We are here lamenting day in, day out on the accidents, but we have the power. And if we don't use that power, the people who are dying day in out are our voters. Honorable members, while we continue lamenting, I want to request the government to have strict regulations on registration and licensing of border borders, including the riding proficiency, the awareness of the traffic rules and regulations, and the general safety considerations. 2, subjecting the riders to regular riding proficiency, the proficiency test, and precondition or as a precondition of the license renewal. You find somebody just goes to renew a license anytime, anywhere, and nothing happens. You don't know whether this person has ever killed. Like the accident that happened yesterday, the border is alive. For them, they know how to jump off. Active enforcement of the traffic plans, the laws and regulations, notably the traffic and road safety laws 204 must be enforced. Enactment of penalties for breaches of the traffic regulations. That is pursuant to the Traffic and Road Safety Regulations 2004. We need to put the punitive measures for errant behaviors and misconduct by the road users in general, whether it is the border, whether it's drivers on the road, we must have measures on that. The unfortunate bit again is that we politicize these things. When we say let's do this to the border riders, we say it is politics. Let's not politicize these things. If we are saying we need the census of these borders, we need all the borders to be deregistered and registered after testing. We say it is because we are either opposition or we are NRM. Let's remove politics. It's about people's lives. And given that gravity of what is happening, and you'll hear from Dr. Yume's report, so many people are dying on a daily basis. And this must be handled by us. Actually, people dying on a daily basis on accidents are more than those who die on Ebola. They are more than those who die on Ebola. And if we don't, we are very careful with Ebola, but we are not careful with accidents. I want to once again thank you for coming to the house and request the Prime Minister, Hajat, that kindly whip your people to be in the house. We approved 83 ministers. We only have 5 now. And it demoralizes the other backbench staff. Let's know that we only have 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Come to the house. This is your house. This is where we pay you for being in this house, by the way. Unless if we are going to stop paying some ministers. Honorable members, thank you. All of you are on the communication.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Dr. Abraham Isamat is my name. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm reacting to your communication. Right Honorable Speaker, recently there was an issue on road safety again in this house. I'm rising because we members of parliament are potential victims of road accidents. just like the border borders and the rest of the people. Some of us, in a way to protect our lives from getting destroyed by accidents or in accidents, we went ahead to fix the lights, those flashlights, but abandoned to put the sirens because it is a preserve for other authorities. But recently, a list of VIPs were actually named in this house, in the other report that was presented. And we personally believe that we are equally VIPs. On our roads, when you use those
which
lights.
VIPs were named?
Pardon?
Which VIPs were named?
For example, the speaker is the VIP.
The speaker is number 3 in this country.
Yes. Yes. The speaker is a VIP, the vice president is a VIP, and others.
Yes.
And according to our standards here, people will consider us also VIPs. But in a situation where a member of parliament has fixed the flashlights on his vehicle and is being dictated by the police, the traffic police, to remove them, yet at night, it is very clear that when those lights are on, it is very easy for other people to see someone who's actually advancing to wherever he's going. So honestly, I think there is a bit of unfairness here, and we're seeking clarification. Are we also entitled to use those flashlights or not? I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, much as I'm regarded as a VIP, I don't even push away road users when my cars are driving, because I consider those people on the road more VIP than me. They voted me to be in this house. So everybody in his own right is a VIP in this country. And for you, you're more VIPs to me. That's why even when you're passing, I give you space. Honorable members, the issue that we need to look at is on the issues of the borders. How do we help this country? Let's not be mindful of ourselves first. How do we help this country on the accidents on the road in terms of the cyclists, the borders? What do we do? Yes, Honorable Chan. Honorable Chan.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, one time I remember there was a ban on border from the business centers. And we had opted to replace these borders with tuk-tuk. And when I see, when you see it clearly, you'll realize that it is minimal to get accident in tuk-tuk than border. I don't know where the whole resolution died. Thank you.
Thank you, government.
Right Honorable Speaker, when you are concluding your remarks, you gave the way forward. Like government should come up with the regulations, the licenses, the penalties, and many others that I cannot again repeat. So I thought you had given your way forward of which government should put in place to enforce the laws of borders. And if we talk about other things like the tukutuku, and you were saying here that those people are more VIP than any other person. I think we are adding more money to these people to put in their transport system to carry people, because a tukutuku has you buy it at a different amount than the border. So we have just to enforce the laws to see that these people follow the laws, and mainly the penalties. We have to enforce the penalties so that somebody should know when there is something, or if he is going to be taken to court, the penalties should be put in place so that others can learn from those people. I thank you.
Honorable Prime Minister, I am aware KCCA has regulations and the rules that have been pushed down, awaiting cabinet approval. When are you taking those regulations to cabinet? The rules of this house, when you're in this house, you don't receive, you don't call when you're in the house.
I'm going to call the Minister for Cases of Kampala to tell us how far she has moved with those regulations so that they are presented to cabinet. So I'm going to call her so that she can give us the update. Thank you.
Honorable members, I happen to get the regulations from KCCA that they brought to my office, and they are very good regulations. Can we give you a timeline? Can we have that in the house next Tuesday?
Right Honorable Speaker, I request that I consult, because I might commit myself here when it will not be Tuesday, then I'll become a liar. I'm requesting that let me consult, then we can come up with a fixed date when the regulations will be in cabinet.
So can you give us a feedback tomorrow after consultation?
I thank you. I am much obliged.
Honorable members, the issues of borders, we will discuss it when the paper is presented by Dr. Yume. Let's not repeat on anything. I have given guidelines. I have given guidelines on what government ought to do. On what government ought to do. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Shabe, it was supposed to be Honorable Semuju first, then you.
Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Semuju was seated and you gave me the opportunity. Please sit.
Let Semuju talk first.
I want to thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am making a comment on the communication. As you did ask, what do we need to do? Madam Speaker, this whole country will need to observe rules. And you don't remove them because they are not convenient to you, and Parliament will need to learn. We are the ones here who removed the term limits when it was time for our president to observe them. We are the ones who removed the age limit when it was time for the president to observe them. So the moment you misbehave, you are inviting borders also to begin violating traffic rules. So when you asked, I think what we need to do is to remove the president so we can get a leader who observes rules, and then everybody will follow.
Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. 90% of the members of parliament who are here are new members of parliament. The person who removed the term limits was Honorable Semuju. He's the one who was in the 10th parliament. For you, you did not remove term limits. It is actually them. Honorable members, before you raise your issue, we want to thank the PAP members of PAP, Ugandan chapter. They've struggled so hard. And finally, Uganda is going to host the PAP session. So we've been awarded we won the award to host. the PAP session. So can you tell us when are we hosting it?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the Pan-African Parliament is made of about 53 countries, and currently there are about 50 countries that are participating because of the rules. We often sit in Midrand, that is the seat of the Pan-African Parliament, but member states are given opportunities to request to host the Pan-African Parliament when they think it is good timing for them. I want to thank our Right Honorable Speaker. We reached out to her. We told her about how good we can host the entire African continent in Uganda, and she welcomed the idea and pushed it up to when we were granted the opportunity to host the Pan-African Parliament next year in October. Right Honorable Speaker, thank you so much, because it was solely your effort that you made all the communications and everything to make sure that Uganda hosts the Pan-African Parliament come next year in October. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, on that. Madam Speaker, allow me 1 minute on the other matter on the border. Madam Speaker, until the time,
Honorable Oshave, we agreed, let's discuss the issue of borders when the paper is presented. We have a paper on the borders.
yes, Madam Speaker, but this is just, I'm just requesting government.
Patrick.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I was reacting to your communication, and one of the issues was on the absenteeism on the front bench. Right Honorable Speaker, I think this is no longer becoming absenteeism, but more as a protest or some act of defiance. And I think as the Chief Whip, we should not, as the government chief, we should not just ask for whipping measures, but nuclear measures to ensure that they can be able to attend. I would like to propose that to the government chief whip. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, last week you appointed a team to go and verify the payments for the medical interns. However, as we speak today, Right Honorable Speaker, some of the internship centers haven't received the payment. I would like to propose, through your indulgence, Right Honorable Speaker, that we get an update from the team, because this matter seems not to have been resolved as we had expected. Thank you.
Honorable, on the issue of the interns, the report was brought and I asked the team to make a follow-up until the interns are paid. What we want is an action report, not a lamentation report. So the report is going to come, but I want to find out what has been done, how much has been paid, who has been paid. But on the issue of the ministers, we have a very able government chief whip here. The issue was to you.
Right Honorable Speaker, I will have to engage my honorable colleague on the aspect of using nuclear whipping system. But all said and done, you can see that the front bench as ministers. But on your other scientific method using nuclear system, I will have to consult with you. Thank you.
Honorable Mejiche.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, this House has the government ministers, but also the shadow ministers. The shadow ministers are always here all the time. Where we can count the numbers if you want.
Honorable members, on the issue of the ministers, we've given a strong warning. We've told the government chief whip what to do. We want to see what happens from tomorrow onwards.
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker, my concern was the fate of the shadow ministers. Because if I am shadowing a minister for energy and they are never here and she's never here, do I now take over the responsibility and do it? Because I am not going.
There's an order here.
Thank you so
There-
much, Madam Speaker.
There's an order.
Madam Speaker, shadow minister is a shadow. Number two, they have these different offices. A cabinet minister or minister from the government side, they have their offices plus all the responsibilities that normally they carry. Is it in order to say that if a shadow minister who is in charge maybe of environment, in charge of defense is here, then there must be a must that is the minister for defense or the other counterpart should be here. Is it in order?
Honorable members, when we had a meeting with the president, we agreed 30% of the ministers will always be in the house. Let's have the ministers in the house. Let's have the ministers in the house. Angura?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, for avoidance of repeating what you had already guided upon, I had a very good suggestion that I'd wanted to bring on borders, but also the traffic management on the road in general.
Tebandeke.
And I will wait for that opportunity, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I raise a procedural matter in line with Article 91 of the Constitution over the bills passed by this House. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm aware of your target that this House is supposed to process 60 bills plus. But most of the bills passed by this House have not yet been assent by the President as in reference with the Article 91 of the Constitution. Right Honorable Speaker, specifically, subsection 3 of Article 91.
Honorable Tebandeke, that issue was raised last week and I gave them Thursday to report back to the House. You're raising the same thing, which was, I don't know if you're in the House that day. So government is reporting back on Thursday.
So much
but I'm happy that you're reading the Constitution. I am very happy. Gold. If gold is not there, Solo.
Yes. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Last week, we had a serious issue here concerning the sports sector, and we are glad that you guided well. The other thing we are getting, Right Honorable Speaker, in this country is the presidential pledges of sports people. Last week, we saw a former
Honorable Solo, you're in the committee you're in that subcommittee.
But this is a presidential issue, madam.
Listen, under sports, presidential pledge under sports. So those are things you should bring up to this House and bring to the attention of the Minister of Sports. I am happy he's even your friend. Now that you're a shadow and the other one is a minister, please, that is one of the issues you should look at. That is one of the issues you should look at in your committee and report back on those presidential pledges. And yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm seeing the Minister of Disaster Preparedness here. And she's coming from other ministers from the office of the Prime Minister. Madam Speaker, you very well are aware that the people of Kasanda were extended more 21 days, Kasanda and Mubende. They are under lockdown. Government gave us some food and some families got some 3 kilograms or 10 or so. But Madam Speaker, I wanted to hear from the minister whether there is any plan to add food to the people, because first of all, the first food that came in the first 21 days, it was little. Secondly, the lockdown was extended. Can the minister of Disaster Preparedness, or the means from the Office of the Prime Minister, assure the people of Mubende and Kasanda that more food is coming and is coming tomorrow. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable, I watched my colleague when he was on Zoom. The day I think was in South Africa, talking about the issue of the little food that was taken to Kansanda comparable to what was taken to Mubende. I want to remind the member that Mubende has a municipality and has a district. So the food that went to Mubende sounded bigger because we are giving to two different administrative units. So the one of Kansanda came as a district. But because of the extension, the relief items will be taken to both Kansanda and Mubende for the extension of the lockdown. But the cows should be in position to ride back to us. The people also who did not receive the ration the last time, so that we plan accordingly. Thank you.
Honorable Patrick, the food is going to be delivered. That issue is being handled. Food is going to be delivered. It is just unfortunate that you've not been there. You don't know which family got food and which one didn't get. Because of the lockdown, you can't go there, but food is being delivered. Anifa, birthday girl, happy birthday.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise on a matter of national importance concerning the deployment of UPDF soldiers on a piece of land situated in Namatava Town Council by our one brigadier known as Benkunda Besige. Right Honorable Speaker, the said brigadier claims to own 10 acres of land on the same piece of land and says owns titles, different plots of land, but at the same time, there are people who are owning titles on the same piece of land. So what he did was to deploy soldiers, beating up people around the area, causing insecurity. So my prayer is to Ministry of Lands to intervene for the verification of the title of that one Brigadier Benkunda, and also the ownership of the said land titles of the people who are staying in the same area. Secondly, the Minister of Security should interest itself in this matter as to whether it is rightful for soldiers really to keep security on people's land that own their land with land titles. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament. I want to thank the member for the concern. Right Honorable Speaker, I've just picked it from here. I want you to allow me link up with the member to get facts. We shall verify issues of ownership of that particular piece of land. Then issues of soldiers, I'll link up with the agencies.
Thank you.
We'll inform them and take action accordingly. Thank you, Right Honorable.
Thank you so much, Stephen. So, Honorable, if I link up with the Honorable Nabakova, not Nantaba, Nabakova. Please link up with the Minister of Lands and have that sorted out. And Stephen.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise on a matter of national importance. Right Honorable Speaker, you know how I speak. My voice now is too low because of what is happening in our district, Isinjiro.
You raise a little bit.
The matter is too urgent. As I talk now, Right Honorable Speaker, over 700 brass trucks carrying matoke, cows, beans, coffee, rice, name it, are all stuck on the road because of the nature of the road. Right Honorable Speaker, the road I'm talking about, it is Isinjiro, Rugaga, Ntantamchirakai Road. This is the road that has been featuring in all budgets of each and every financial year. The road has really featured in the NRM manifesto since 1986 up to now. Yes, yes, the president has talked about that road. Of recent, Madam Speaker, to my surprise, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Vice President, and even the Deputy Speaker of this Parliament, Waini Sinjiro, they talked about the same road. But the Right Honorable Speaker, as I talk now, trucks are stuck, nothing that can move because of that problem. Right Honorable Speaker, the voice has gone up because of the challenge that is affecting our people. And I really want you members of parliament to accept and at least be with us, and we see on how this problem can really. I have two prayers, Right Honorable Speaker. My prayer is one, that the government commits itself on dates for the works to commence and furnish information to this August House on how the road is going to start. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, Ministry of Works and Transport and UNRWA expedite the plans for funding the feasibility study. Thirdly, Right Honorable Speaker, government prioritizes all budgets and manifests the pledges to enable the economic development across the county. Right Honorable Speaker, the challenge is one. Once that road is purely done, to be realistic, you are Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and even Juba, you're not going to have any challenge as far as food is concerned in this region.
Thank you so much. You know, he's one of our representatives from Tanzania. He's a can you sit down, our Tanzanian MP?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The road that Honorable colleague is talking about is among the roads that are supposed to be done. The program is with UNRWA, and I'm going to call upon UNRWA to tell us through the Minister of Transport when are they starting that program, because it's among the program, it is among the roads that are to be done, but just we need to know when are they starting on that road. Thank you.
The issue of that road has come to this house several times, even in the 10th Parliament. The Prime Minister, you need to make a follow-up. You find UNRWA now is scared of doing anything because they are fearing that they are going to be rationalized. But UNRWA is there for us.
Information, Madam.
They are going to handle your issue. UNRWA, please talk to UNRWA to ensure that we have that road worked on. Museveni?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker is on a matter of national importance, where schools are closing, Madam Speaker, but in Mbende, we are in a lockdown. There's no public transport, even private. And now the students are going back. I thank the ministry, they have organized for the way how they can transport the students who are studying outside the Mbende, but they are from Mbende. They are put to the means. But how are the parents going to pick them? They will have centers where they are going to drop them. But parents are not supposed to drive. Either a vehicle or even lighting is not allowed. How are they going to take their children at home? I want the ministry to come out, or if they can relax and allow the private and public means to take these children back home, because they are going to drop them at Kasenyi Secondary School. In Kasanda, I think it is in Nkova Zambogo. How are they going to reach their homes, Madam Speaker?
I think what we need to do, Prime Minister, you need to convene a meeting with the Minister of Health and then education and see what you can do. Do you have something to say? Education?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. First of all, with your indulgence, honorable colleagues, it is true the matter Honorable Museveni has raised is being handled in a multi-sectoral manner. As education, we have a part which we are playing.
This is a very serious matter. Why don't you leave your colleague to
It is,
finish?
Madam Speaker. The Honorable Ogwang told this parliament that he represents the senior minister only on Thursday. It is on record of parliament. Is he in order to go against a statement he made here that he comes here to represent the ministry only on Thursday? Is he in order, Madam Speaker?
Honorable members, I requested Honorable Gwang to be in the house today. Myself, one, I wanted him to give us a report on sports bill. And now that is a question on sports, I mean on education. Then he can answer the question. It is not cast on stone. It is not cast on stone that he must be here only on Thursday. He is a member of parliament. He is a member of parliament who is supposed to be in this house every day. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. My brother Semuju, let me not go into others. Let me address myself to the question which was asked by Honorable Museveni. Madam Speaker, I was saying that the matter we are discussing is being handled between Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education. That's why you see now we are talking about how to make sure that students and pupils from Mubende who are sitting in Mubende but come from different districts leave the district. But also, we are also looking at students from Mubende who are born of Mubende, who are studying in different parts of the country, who are meant to return to their respective areas, get back in. That matter we are handling. Now, the critical issue which he has raised is one which I want to request the August House to allow us to come back with a statement, because it's an issue really which needs to be taken into consideration.
The children are getting holidays on Thursday.
Madam Speaker, we shall be able to give a statement on Thursday on the same subject matter.
No, they are getting holidays on Thursday.
Madam Speaker, because, and maybe with your permission, you permit me to get out of here and go back to the ministry.
Clarification.
Thank you, the Honourable Minister, for sitting ground and accepting to make this clarification. Now that you have not yet provided the country with a statement, and now that the whole idea of school lockdown and the closure is still debatable, is it probable that in the ministry that decision is already debated in view of the fact that the schools are closing and festivities are going on countrywide from different parts of the country, gathering thousands of people? Have you looked at this possibility that our children lost a lot under COVID, and that the decision to close schools prematurely was not given enough imagination? Is that a debate you are holding in the corridors of education? You still believe that the schools can close, but we can go on with the people everywhere, gathering thousands of people? Is this something you want to think about?
Information.
Maybe we need to first find out, Honorable Minister, when are schools closing? When? 25th. That's ample time for you to give us a plan on what to be done. Yes, Susan?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm concerned about the return of these children to Mubende. The government took it upon itself to quarantine that area. Are we not exposing these children to Ebola by taking them back? Wouldn't it be right that the government finds where these children can stay until the Ebola has been declared not in Uganda anymore?
Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, first of all, I would like to inform Parliament that there's a circular which was issued by the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education and Sports. If you permit, I would like to lay on table the circular number 26. Maybe I relay it on table so that it is photocopied and distributed to all members of Parliament.
What is the circular about?
It's about the safe transportation of primary schools and learners of for third term, to and fro from Mubende and Kansanda. Then also the other issues which are basically here, right now, Speaker, is in line with one or two issues. Number one, Madam Speaker, of course, when are we going to reopen the next term is one which we are going to take a decision as a ministry.
Minister, before you go there, that circular was of transporting the students who were doing exams within that area. And students who, for instance, are doing exams in a different center, not in the schools where they are doing. But then the issue that they are raising, how do we transport the children, for instance, from Kampala to Mubende? Now you've given us an answer of how to transport them. But then from Mubende, from where the center, where they are being dropped, how do they go to their homes? Since you're regulating on the transport. That is the issue. And then Susan's issue is that now that you're taking these children who are not infected to Mubende, is there a way you can quarantine, you can have those children in Kampala or anywhere? And then, of course, that is dependent on the families.
Madam Speaker, first of all, maybe I need to begin with the question which you raised earlier on, and I need to retaliate again. Number one, once children are taken to the designated center, how are they meant to be picked? In my considered opinion, I feel the task forces of Mubende and Kansanda must be able to organize on how these parents are able to collect their children from these designated areas. However, like I did say, Madam Speaker, I want to ask Parliament to permit me to go back, like we are working closely with Minister of Health. We consult and bring a statement here.
Can you have that as a policy? Because when you have it as a policy, you tell them this is what you're supposed to do.
Madam
It becomes a policy from the ministry. But if you just say that they will do this, they will be reluctant, but you need to issue orders.
Madam Speaker, I believe if we are to come up with a policy, of course, it's going to be here for the rest of the time in case this disease reemerges again. But for me, I know this is a short-lived disease, which I know we are working hard as a country to fight it. And I don't think we shall have another reoccurrence of this kind. However, I take your advice, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Honorable Minister, you know, when you write or when you make a pronouncement from a ministry, that becomes a policy that you must do it. It is not a law that I'm telling you to make an amendment. It is communication that when this and this happens, this is what you should do.
Madam Speaker, I'm also obliged. I will be able to report back on the statement on the matter.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Goretti?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I raise on a matter of national importance, Honorable Speaker. Aware that Uganda has the youngest population, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm concerned about the escalating level of new HIV infections rates, especially among adolescents, most so females in the age of between 10 to 24 years. Right Honorable Speaker, according to statistics from the Uganda AIDS Commission, it discloses that out of 15,000 in a year, 79% are of the age of 10 to 24 years. Right Honorable Speaker, it is also saddening that we lose 20 children every day on HIV-related cases. Right Honorable Speaker, we've paid much attention on Ebola and COVID as pandemics, and forgetting that HIV still kills Ugandans. Right Honorable Speaker, my prayer is the Ministry of Health should come and update this House on the implementation of the HIV and AIDS committee report that was presented to this House, that considered and presented that the ministry is underfunded. And Right Honorable Speaker, secondly, this House compels the concerned ministries and agencies to submit a comprehensive and urgent report about the budget for an HIV prevention campaign, Right Honorable Speaker. Through Right Honorable Speaker, as a shadow minister in the alternative government for science, innovation, and technology, I want to update you, Right Honorable Speaker, that we had a very important event about the satellites and the Science Week that took a whole week from 6th to 7th. And Right Honorable Speaker, a lot of taxpayers' money was spent, and the minister did not come to update this House about what it did cost the ministry, and also to update the country about the importance of this event. So, Right Honorable Speaker, as an alternative, I have a statement with your permission. If the minister has failed, Right Honorable Speaker, I can bring the alternative as we wait for government to prepare. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable member, government has not failed. We are only going to ask the minister to bring a paper updating the House on a science week. But at least one thing I can tell you, I'm not sure whether government has really failed. It has not failed. And then the other question on health.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the honorable colleague for the concern about HIV AIDS, especially among the adolescents. I want to inform this House that 1st of December, it is World AIDS Day. And among the activities that are to be done is to continue sensitizing these people about the adolescents and of course the whole nation, how they should protect themselves from HIV AIDS. And the theme is concerning the youth people. And also, I want to inform the House that HIV drugs are supposed to be given free to those people who are HIV positive. Then secondly, I want to call upon all the members to continue sensitizing our people, but all the same, the Ministry of Health will come and give us more about HIV, how they are trying to sensitize our people about HIV AIDS. Then lastly, Right Honorable, about the Science Week, the minister has already briefed cabinet what they did. And I want to inform this House that we already have a satellite in the space. That was the first time. This is our first time to have it in space, but the minister will come with a statement to this House to inform you about what it was about and our achievements and what we are going to do with all the science technologies that have been innovated. I thank you.
Actually, we are going to receive a post-mortem report. We ought to have gotten the report before, and next time we need a report before. We don't receive post-mortem reports. And what the clarification I also wanted to find from you is that, did you say that the drugs for HIV are free? They give out free? They are supposed, but they are not given out free. Are they free? Yes, Solomon.
Yeah, Right Honorable Speaker, I thank you. The clarification I wanted to seek from the Prime Minister, Right Honorable Speaker. One, you have already sought clarification about the payment, because in most health centers, you find that there is an amount attached to those drugs. Wanted to know, is that the policy of government or it is done illegally? Then two, what the honorable member was raising was the HIV infection have increased suddenly, which means there is something that is not being done right. So I wanted to know from the Prime Minister, what is it that could be done in the very short run to reduce the rate of this infection as we wait for the Minister of Health to come?
I think the person who would be competent to answer that is the Minister of Health. It should be a Minister of Health to give us that information. Honorable members, we are running out of time. Can I have Basil? Basil? In the absence of Basil, can I have an update from the Minister of Sports on the bill?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. First of all, I would like to inform Parliament that Cabinet did consider the pass bill. When I talk about pass, I talk about physical activity and sports bill. As of today, I want to confirm, Right Honorable Speaker, that the second procedure is that we are going ahead to gazette the pass bill, then I'll be able to lay it on table. So, Madam Speaker, I beg your indulgence that you permit the process to complete its course. And by Tuesday next week, allow me come back to Parliament with the pass bill. I thank you so much, Parliament, for the support, and also Cabinet. I thank you for the support given to this bill. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. You need a clarification?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, these issues about the bill on the sports, it is something very important and the country is waiting for it. Last week or the other week, a bill was read here for the second time. And that bill, it was
For the
first time. The bill was read here for the first time. And the House granted permission for a member to introduce that bill so that that bill can be worked upon. Now we are hearing for another bill, a similar bill, which is supposed to be gazetted. How about the other one? Have they matched it? And if they have matched it, at what level can that information be given clearly to the members so that we can get to know about it?
Honorable members, I guided this house last week. We did not want to deprive the right of a private member from bringing a bill. We allowed the private member to bring his bill for the first reading. He sought permission for it. It was granted, and he brought the bill for first reading. However, government said they needed to give an input on the bill, and government said their bill was ready, and that's why we gave them permission to bring their bill. They will go and merge it at committee level. They will come up with one bill. And that is the same thing that happened with the succession. You ask a question and you're speaking there. Stop it. Next item. Yes, procedure matter. Honorable members, kindly, those who have not brought their issue of national importance, yours will be first tomorrow. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, my curiosity has been aroused by a matter in the public domain over the last couple of months relating to a very prominent officer of the UPDF and by extension a presidential advisor who is known for tweeting at every prompting, including on matters capable of causing disaffection and embarrassing the country. The Gen Muhoozi kainerugaba
who is the presidential advisor and the general in the army, is on social media, on his Twitter handle in particular, tweeting on potential explosive national and regional matters, right, Honorable Speaker. And it does seem that he is itching fingers without abatement.
The opposition, I know you know the law very, very well. And you know that our rules of procedure do not allow us to discuss a person who is not in this house to be able to respond for himself.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I very well know the rules, and my submission is not in any way intended to impeach the guidance of the Speaker. Right, Honorable Speaker, the said general is under command. In this house, we have ministers, the Minister of Defense, you have the Commander-in-Chief, who is represented by the Prime Minister and the Vice President. The question of the day, Honorable Speaker, is that me and you and the rest of the House are part of a checkered national history of armies and commanders usurping powers and getting this country into anarchy. Honorable Speaker, this country sent MPs to this House of Parliament to deliberate on matters affecting the country and potentially dangerous to the country. Honorable Speaker, this House has 10 MPs representing the UPDF. And these honorable gentlemen and ladies do not have the same space to speak on brazenly partisan matters as this general. In today's newspaper, the New Vision.
Honorable LoP, as I've already said, and you're not going to change my ruling. The general you're talking about is not in this house. The general you're talking about is in this house. We are not going to discuss about him. What you can do is to raise a question to the Minister of Defense. Which minister? The Minister of Defense on the same issue, and you'll be given a response. But I don't believe in us naming.
I take your guidance, right, Honorable Speaker, which is why I needed to move procedurally, because as the LoP, that space can only be for me here, not my members, because the Minister of Defense should be able to come and tell the House whether this general is an outlaw.
Can I give you time to give us that information when the Minister of Defense himself is here?
Right,
kindly ask the Minister of Defense to come to the House, and we'll. I want, honorable members, I want Gen Muhoozi in the House. Who, who is that? Sempija. I want Honorable Sempija himself in the House, and he will be the one to respond to it. Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam.
Kindly tell Honorable Sempija to be here on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The procedural issue I am raising is twofold. The first is in a way of a notice that as the Minister of Defense comes, I had earlier asked a question about this same general who is undermining the deployment of an African force.
Honorable members, I have ruled.
The second,
I have already ruled
that's
on
why
that
I've
matter.
abandoned that. The second, because I said it's twofold. The second, Madam Speaker, and I will need guidance. Because
No,
last,
he has dropped the first
yes,
one.
I know there are people when you speak about Muhoozi, they want to be seen that they are defending him.
Honorable members.
They are jumping from their chairs.
Order, Madam.
Honorable.
Honorable
Honorable
Gwanga, you are a
Point of
senior
order.
MP. You cannot
Point of
be one
order.
of those.
Point of order.
That you are just jumping because they are
Point of order.
house.
Point of order. Point of order.
Honorable
of
member.
order.
So, Madam Speaker, the second issue procedure, because I said it's in twofold. The one that is making Honorable Ogwanga jump from his chair, I have abandoned. The second one, Madam Speaker, when ministers of state are coming to Parliament, they come with which mandate? Because there is a minister there of defense. Last time I complained about junior ministers, and Madam, and I respect your ruling, you said the senior ministers. Now the junior minister wanted to give an answer, you have called for a senior one.
Honorable,
So which mandate do they carry in this house?
Honorable Semuju. Members. Honorable members, when you continue making a noise, I'll send you out. Honorable Uda is a minister of veterans. The general you're talking about is not a veteran. That's one. Two, when you ask for the mandate of the junior, I say there is no junior minister. When you ask for a mandate of the state ministers, we are the ones who approved them. If you knew they were junior and they were not relevant to our operation, we shouldn't have approved them. They are here in their positions as ministers. And that's why you find, and you know, we are living in a state, and these are ministers of states. Next item.
Item 5,
Is
statement by member on the magnitude of road traffic injuries reporting to public hospitals in Uganda and the cost of treatment.
I am informed Dr. Yume is not in yet. Hey. Doctor? Yes, infrastructure.
Right, Honorable Speaker. I'd like to thank the Honorable, who is the chair, Committee of Health.
You're thanking him for what? He has not presented anything.
Yes, he's coming. The House gave us that assignment, and we met different stakeholders where the Minister of Health came, and we have a comprehensive report where
there is an order.
Madam Speaker, our rules do not permit debating in anticipation. And the member holding the floor is an old MP. Is he in order to begin commenting about something we don't even know? Is he in order?
Honorable, you said you have a report on the same matter?
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker, the House gave us Committee of Physical Infrastructure.
Was it presented to the House?
We met the Minister of
I am
Health.
saying you did. Was it presented to the
Draft
House?
is ready.
Now, Honorable Chair of the committee, a report is only a report once it is approved, once it is in this House and approved by this House. You've not brought a report, not even signed. It is still a draft. Now, if it is still a draft and we have a report which is ready, why should we wait? Now, you want us to debate in anticipation?
Right Honorable Speaker, my worry is when we met the Minister of Health and we requested them for figures, they told us they don't have figures.
Honorable Chair, just sit down. Dr. Ayume? Dr. Ayume? I am not giving you procedure. Can we hear the report?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to lay the report on the magnitude.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm raising a procedural matter.
I did not allow you yet. Honorable members, this statement that is being given by Honorable Yume is pursuant to Rule 54 of the Rules of Procedure. While the rules require that such statements should be made on Thursdays, as a presiding officer, I revoke, using my prerogative, I revoke under Rule 7(2), 25(1), and 3 of the Rules of Procedure to cause a statement to be made because of what is happening in the country. So that's why I have called Dr. Yume. I know you want to raise a procedure that it is not supposed to be. The powers are on the person seated in this seat. Dr. Yume?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. You have really guided well. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to lay a report titled The Magnitude of Road Traffic Injuries, reporting to public health hospitals in Uganda and the cost of their treatment. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the report.
Let's do.
I beg to lay.
Honorable Lands, there is still an issue for you. Don't go.
Right Honorable Speaker, the motivation to come up with this report is whenever there are accidents in this country, they are twofold. We have upstream and downstream. Most times the problem is in the Ministry of Transport, but it is the health sector that bears the brunt, and the shortcomings in the health sector are exposed whenever there's an accident. So I think the time is right now for us to also bring out the statistics so that we can address some of the issues in the transport sector. Right Honorable Speaker, in the process of conducting this study, we visited Mulago National Referral Hospital and 16 regional referral hospitals. Data collection tools were used to collect information regarding the magnitude of injuries reporting to the public health facilities. I also interacted with Uganda Police to give us their accident reports for the last 3 years. And this report, Right Honorable Speaker and members, covers the last 3 financial years. I would like to draw your attention to page 1. Mr. IT, can you please project? Let's move on to page 2. Table 1 shows the change in rank of 10 leading causes of global burden of disease. Road traffic injuries in 1990 were number 9. Right now, Right Honorable Speaker, as of 2020, road traffic injuries were number 3. In Uganda, road traffic injuries take the position of number 13, with malaria and respiratory tract infections taking number 1 and 2 respectively. The objectives of this study, Right Honorable Speaker and members, was to determine the total admission of accident victims and victims of trauma in regional referral hospitals and the National Referral Hospital. Secondly, it was supposed to analyze the type of accidents and the total admissions, to conduct an in-depth analysis of the total estimated costs of road traffic accidents, to review challenges in the road safety in the country, sector in the country, and to develop a policy brief and recommendation in terms of laws, training, monitoring,
specific budget allocations that policymakers can consider in addition to increasing funding. Right Honorable Speaker, the hospitals whose data we analyzed were Arua, Entebbe, Fort Portal, Gulu, Hoima, Jinja, Kabale, Masaka, Mbale, Soroti, Lira, Mbarara, Mubende, Yumbe, Moroto, and Naguru Regional Referral Hospitals, and then Mulago National Referral Hospitals. When we're coming up with the cost of treatment, we interfaced with the consultants of Mulago and asked them, what would it cost to treat a patient who is severely injured, moderately injured, or mild injuries? And so we came up with the guided on the figures. Right Honorable Speaker, we also looked at documents, annual health sector performance report, the police accident report, reports from regional referral hospitals, and so forth. I'll go to some of the results, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues. That's page 13. In 2018, the total accidents were 12,805. Of these, 3,194 were fatal. In 2019, total accidents were 12,858. Of these, 3,407 were fatal. In 2020, 12,249 accidents occurred, 3,269 were fatal. In 2021, we had a spike, 17,443 accidents occurred, and 3,757 were fatal. Right Honorable Speaker, if I broke it down to the magnitude of the injuries, the killed in 2018, 3,689 died from accidents. Those seriously injured were 9,541. Slightly injured were 1,881. 2019, those who died were 3,880. Seriously injured were 9,635. Slightly injured 1,175. 2020, those who were killed were 3,663. Seriously injured were 8,370. Slightly injured were 979. Finally, 2021, those who died in 2021 were 4,159. Seriously injured were 12,589. Slightly injured were 1,287. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to draw your attention to Table 9, that is comparison of fatalities by road user group. When you look at that table, Right Honorable Speaker, I wish the IT man could flash it. Motorcyclists accounted for the biggest number of fatalities in all the 4 years, followed by passengers on the motorcycles, followed by pedestrians. So, Right Honorable Speaker, there is clear evidence to show that motorcycles, commonly known as borders, are the biggest cause of injuries, but most importantly, deaths from road traffic accidents. Page 15, Right Honorable Speaker, causes of the crashes. We had reckless or careless driving, overspeeding, under the influence of alcohol, and then cars in dangerous mechanical conditions. There is the causes are up there. I would like to draw your attention to page 21. Total admissions, that's table 12 on page 21. The total admissions, the highest number of cases of admissions were due to motorcycles, commonly known as borders. And if we broke it down by sex, males were certainly more affected and males above 5 years old. So compared to females. And I think it's quite clear on the table. I'd like to draw attention to table 22. Again, the problem is borders. Right Honorable Speaker, when it comes to the issue of the costs that we pay, that is page 34. Mr. IT, can you please move to page 34? We broke it down into the costs based on critical level 4, critical level 3, and critical level 1. Right Honorable Speaker, the overall daily cost that we spend on treating accidents is 877 million shillings. Monthly, it comes to 26 billion, and annually, it comes to 315 billion. That is what the sector needs to be able to treat victims of accidents. And as the chairman of the health committee, I know that very well we do not appropriate this amount of money for accidents and emergencies. So that leaves me with 3 fundamental questions, honorable members. First one is, we are not appropriating enough. 315 billion shillings is a lot of money. That means people are either dying, people are not getting the service, or we are having increased out-of-pocket expenditure, meaning a lot of members of parliament and the population have to touch into their pockets to meet for this shortfall. As I conclude, honorable members, I would just like to compare the problem of border accidents, of accidents in comparison to malaria. When it comes to malaria, I have just highlighted for accidents, we spend 315 billion annually. That should be page 35. We spend about 315 billion for accidents, but our malaria budget is $150 million annually, which is about 550 billion. Of course, that is given mostly by donors, and Uganda only contributes 10% of that. So we are slightly in terms of what we should be able to appropriate behind malaria by about 200 billion shillings. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I would just like to quickly run through to the recommendations, policy recommendations. We need to improve the emergency response assistance to road traffic victims. That means, honorable members, all highways in this country should have at least accident and emergency units. We are looking at Jinja, Kampala. We are looking at Jinja, Kampala, Mubende, Fort Portal, up to Gulu. At least in the middle, we should have, because the only person who moves with an ambulance in this country, honorable members, is the president. Any of us could fall culpable to these accidents, and we shall have to wait for our ambulances, which are not yet in full functionality. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, is proper use and enforcement of helmets, speed and regular limit enforcement, heavy fines and punishment for unfair road users, proper and standardized road surface designs. That includes also signage. When I drive from here to Koboko, I'd like to tell the Minister of Transport, there's hardly any signage, and where it used to be, it has been stolen. So we also need to penalize such people. Coordination of road safety by National Road Safety Council, regular on-spot inspections, speed regulation measures, insurance payout and claims. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, every vehicle in this country is mandated to pay third-party insurance, but most times people do not claim it, let alone most of the drivers do not know their rights in regard to third-party insurance. So it's an area we have to explore. Are we seeing a cartel of business people conniving with police to ensure that people mandatorily pay third-party insurance, but the service is not being given? Adherence to pedestrian crossings, enforcement of road hierarchy in urban areas, removing road sign dangers and design for safety spaces, and reduction and gazetting of speed reduction zones on highways. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, in summary, it's a very bulky report. It's about 45 pages, but I quickly ran through because I was given 20 minutes to present. Thank you, Right Honorable
Thank you
Speaker.
so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Yume, for taking time to conduct this study. It's a very enriching report. Your findings will surely help us in making strategic interventions, as I said before, in streamlining the accident or the road carnage. I know that the lapse of enforcement, as I said in my remarks on the road safety standards, is weighing down heavily on the health sector. Just imagine how much money is used on a daily basis, monthly, and in a year, which money you don't budget for, and even if you budget for it, which money is not released because you don't have the money. So that issue is really a very important issue that we need to discuss and agree on a way forward. And remember, as I said before, we need the regulations, the enforceability of the regulations that you're going to put in place is very, very important. When you look at the number of people that are dying, there are so many. This is really terrible for the country. And the minister, as I told you earlier on, and I remember at one time we had speed limits. You'd see a driver driving and he would reach somewhere and say, oh, the policemen are there. They are going to check on the speed. But I don't see it anymore. The speed detectors are no longer there. You drive the way you want to drive. The pedestrians are not respected. You find somebody crossing the road. There was an issue a member raised here that they were going to be knocked. Nobody can, they don't stop when there's a road crossing. And I don't know whether road crossings are still effective. All those kind of things need to be taken in consideration. Honorable Minister, can we first hear from the Minister of Roads? Because as we said, some of these things are either negligence of the riders, the road situation, the roads are in bad condition, or whichever.
That's already an accident, eh?
Honorable members, listen.
Madam Speaker, first of all, I'm impressed by the detailed report that my colleague, Honorable Yume, has presented. It ties very well with what we have just been discussing a few minutes back. A few days ago, we had a dry run at Entebbe to prepare the country in the event of an emergency, for example, of something similar to what happened in Tanzania. And then I was sharing them what we need to do, precisely similar to what is captured in the report. I wanted to beg this House that a comprehensive report be presented about, because when you look at this report, three critical elements are very clear. There is the roads, there is the vessel, that's what is used, and the managers of the vessels, and maybe the fourth is the general public. We are concerned about the roads, we are concerned about the vessels, and also how we tame the managers. We have an array of interventions in terms of laws and regulations that would be very happy to again come and share with this honorable House with your permission. And then we see where there might be some gaps and what needs to be done, given the fact that, yes, we seem to have a community that sometimes doesn't respect our regulations. And if that is okay, Madam Speaker, I want to, first of all, before I even sit down, to draw the attention of you honorable colleagues. Before I went to the Minister of Works, I used to think
that say like the northern bypass and the expressway, one would move even at 130, 150. But in our records, the maximum speed in all our roads, according to the design, is 100 kilometers per hour. And it means even us, Madam Speaker, are breaking the law every day. Even us, the honorable colleagues. So there is need to come and share with you this house. Then you propose to us, this house guides us on how we can proceed, Madam.
And Honorable Minister, that's why I was talking about enforceability. If the honorable member is driving above the limit that is required, arrest. There is nobody who is above the law. And when you look at these roads, the safety of the road begins with the designs. The designs that you have on most of these roads is wanting. You need to check your designs on the roads, and you also need to ensure that you strengthen the regulations on the road usage. For instance, if there are signs, speed limit, traffic laws that are available, that should be enforced. But if we are not enforcing them, then there's a problem. When you look at also regulation of importation of vehicles or vehicle parts, last week I was very surprised that we bought a tire and in the next day it burst. It burst. So when you look at all of those kind of things, those are the things that cause accidents. So as a ministry, you need to ensure that you look at all of that. And then, of course, Ministry of Internal Affairs, this is a multi-sectoral, it needs a multi-sectoral approach. Ministry of Internal Affairs, you need to ensure that the issue of speed limits arrest everybody, including us, because we want to be alive. If you want to reach early, why don't you leave early? So we expect a report from you, from both Internal Affairs and Ministry of Works on the action, not lamentations, on the action that we are taking to ensure that we reduce the accidents on the road. And we also need a report from the Prime Minister on the regulations that we talked earlier on. On the same. Honorable members, I thought they are going to come up with the reports. They too. 1 minute, 1 minute.
Madam,
Yes, yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Angora. Enos. I am coming.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
I am saying 1 minute.
You sit and I start. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the chair for the report. They did research. I want to believe it was both qualitative and quantitative, and the methods adapted after findings have given us a correlation, which is showing us a positive significance as far as these accidents are concerned, and they need to be addressed. Madam Speaker, I want to go straight to the recommendations. Madam Speaker, I want to recommend whenever we go out, we also benchmark on other issues that might not be in relation to why we have gone. Out there, like in Dubai, like in the US and many other areas, a mistake caused by someone on the road is a benefit to the government in terms of revenue. Let's start collecting from every person who's making a mistake fines, and we shall improve on our revenue, and we shall slow down.
Honorable members, high fines on the persons who cause accidents on the way. And if I can tell you, honorable members, if I can tell you, I started implementing with the parliament. If you drive and you cause accident negligently, you pay for it yourself. You repair the car yourself. We are not going to allow that kind of thing because I work for an institution, so the institution will cater for it. The fine should be high. Include it in the what? In the recommendations. Yes, Rakai first.
Thank you, Right
Rakai.
Honorable. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable members of Parliament, the rate of accidents in this country is so worrying, and the report has confirmed it. My major concern is the counter accusations. It kills the gist of the matter of the causes of these accidents. I think the most important thing, for example, is government first doing what it has to do. Right Honorable Speaker, when you drive on our roads, it is totally dark everywhere you go. And so you wonder what happens. And for example, one of our members of parliament, former members of parliament, lost his life on the bypass because it was dark. He drove into a truck. Secondly, we are talking about fines, but if these fines are not automated, the issue of corruption will still fail us. So like the multiplex, how, for example, the multiplex is doing it. 1 minute. 1 minute. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. The issue of multiplex, if you park somewhere, they will just fine you. If you don't pay, it will be increasing. So you will look for you will take yourself there to pay. Otherwise, if we don't do that, it will not happen. Thirdly, the issue of cameras. I think we need to increase cameras in all the suburbs, because when you look at the police report, those accidents are happening in places even where there are no cameras. So you start accusing each other who caused the accident. So I think cameras should also increase. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Drink and drive. Members don't drink and drive. Liantonde.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just after your communication, I'd first wanted to report to you that through the Minister of Internal Affairs, we need in the same spirit caution police officers who have turned the operation against borders into an extortion venture. They stop borders and take money from them instead of actually collecting the errors they find them in. So I wanted, in the same spirit, Madam Speaker, caution the police team through the Internal Affairs Minister. Number two, about the accident, I want to first of all thank the chair of the team leader for the good report, specifically relating to installation or upgrading our hospitals on the highways to handle emergency situations. Myself, the Antonde Hospital is always
Thank you. Honorable Minister, Internal Affairs. The extortion on the roads is too high. Too high. It is not hearsay. It is not hearsay. You need to institute a committee to investigate on that. Countrywide, it is not only in Kampala. You will find some people have overstayed in traffic, and because of overstaying, they feel that is a bonanza for them. Yes, Fort Photo.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I thank the chair of the committee, and as the chairperson of Parliamentary Forum for Road Safety, I'm extremely happy with the report. Right Honorable Speaker, we tasked the economists in this country to calculate in terms of figures how much the country loses per year. And it was so shocking that every year Uganda loses not less than 5 trillion shillings out of accidents, because you are only looking at the over 300 billions for the treatment. But when it comes to the economic losses, human loss, you cannot replace these experienced people who have invested. People die with their businesses, the damage, the goods that are destroyed. When you compute all that, we go up to 5 trillion shillings. And no country can really develop with this kind of
Thank you so much. Samuel?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I want to thank my brother for the report that he has presented. I agree that fines, yes. But Madam Speaker, what is the status of our roads? If you're traveling from Kampala to Lira, around Kafu, there are difference in the level of the road. You go and all of a sudden, you find yourself dropping in a valley. The roads has two different levels. So if accident occurs around that area, who are we going to find? The driver or the government? I thank you.
And that's why I was talking about the designs of the road. It is really very important that the Minister of Works looks at that. Margaret, then Linda.
Yeah,
then,
thank you, Right
Judy.
Honorable Speaker. My issue is about the potholes. Before we blame the borders to ride badly, how about the potholes that they are dodging and they end up getting into the running vehicles? I have listened well to the report. The causes were overspeeding, overloading, reckless driving, but there was nowhere mentioned the poor road network that we have. I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. From Parliament, just to my home here in KCCA, there are over 200 potholes. Over 200. Abe has information, she knows it. Even.
Right Honorable Speaker, besides your home, if you take the route going to industrial area, Right Honorable Speaker, you'll wonder whether Kampala is a city or not. And money has been allocated more often to repair those roads, but they never create a pathway where water is supposed to pass, a drainage where water is supposed to pass.
Okay.
Right Honorable Speaker, you're absolutely right.
Thank you. Linda?
Thank you, Right Honorable
Rosie,
Speaker. My point is on the unfairness in cost of acquiring riding and driving permits, Right Honorable Speaker. Most of our youth are employed in the border industry, but they fear to go and acquire riding permits because they are very expensive. My prayer is, can Ministry of Works look into this one and reduce the cost of the riding permits for the border? Then another issue is about most of the road signs are being stolen. So when drivers are driving, there are no signs to guide them. Can we begin installing road signs that are made of plastics because people are taking them because of scraps? Thank you.
Thank you so much. The issue of the cost of driving permits. First of all, before we talk about the cost, people should be tested whether they can ride. There must be regular testing. It is, you should not act with a presumption that they can ride. Because these people are coming from up country, they learn to drive in one day, ride in one day, the next day is in town, he's causing an accident, and that's why you find the males are many who have died. Judy?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would love to bring to the attention of the House and for those who travel up countries, especially from Kampala to Gulu or to Lira or to West Nile. Madam Speaker, I am concerned with the parking, the double parking of the big trailers along Mijera Road. That road is very bad, it's very narrow, but you find the big trailers have double parking and there is no path for the pedestrians and there is no path for the borders, the walkways. And my prayer is if these drivers of the truck drivers can be allocated a different space for them to park and they leave the road for the drivers. Thank you.
Minister of Works. I think you passed a certain place when you're going to your area. In Bukedea, you get double parking of all the trucks that are going to Sudan. Kumi town, all that area. Can we have all those trucks off that road? And if they want to park, they should park on one side to avoid double parking. And that's what killed one of our colleagues that Rakai was talking about. Helen?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Much as we have talked about roads, there is also a lake that I represent, Madam Speaker. Yes, a lake, Lake Victoria, Karangala. Madam Speaker, we also have accidents on the lake. Reason being, no, they are not potholes. They
Honorable
are dangerous
members.
spots. Madam Speaker, they are dangerous spots on the lake, the rocks. When it rains heavily, they are covered. When a boat is moving, it knocks that rock and people they die, they drown in the water. So the Ministry of Health,
Of Works.
Ministry of Works and Transport, please consider the islands because our people are dying because of those rocks. Thank you.
Helen, advise, how could Works be of help? Advise us.
Madam Speaker, protection, please. I need your protection.
No, we want to know how can we be of help?
First of all, Madam Speaker, we need flags. There are those red flags that are put on the dangerous spots. For example, where the ship passes, when the water is shallow, when the lake is, the level is down, you will see the rock. But when it is up, you will not see it. So can we have the red flags, those that are raised even where the ship passes? Thank you.
Helen, you know why I was asking you this? The Minister of Works doesn't even know anything. So he needs to get information from us of how you can be helped.
Madam Speaker, I'll be of great help to the minister. Thank you.
Honorable, look for, need to get information from Helen. Komakech?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would want to interest the Minister for Roads. Most of these border cyclists are actually drug and alcohol consumers. They issue licenses to these cyclists without testing them. Isn't there a way every operator of a motorbike or a vehicle that the government can go ahead and test them before they are issued licenses, so that they are tested for drugs, they are tested for alcohol? On top of that, most of these border...
Can I ask you, Christopher, if you drink today, will you still test like you're drunk the next day when you're being tested?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm a medical personnel with my knowledge. If blood sample is taken from you, from the liver, they can detect the amount of alcohol you are taking on.
Let me tell you, if you say you're going to take a blood sample for everybody who drinks, then all of you will not be in this house. Honorable members, let's put a regulations of how these people can be tested, retested, always tested whether they are still competent to ride motorcycles.
Right Honorable Speaker, there is what is known as a drug screen card, and they are readily available in Butabika and other rehabilitation centers. They can use a drug screen card, they take your urine and they test it, and then they can know whether you are intoxicated or not.
As I told you before, the people out there are our VIPs. We should not deprive them from earning a living, but when they are to earn a living, the responsibility of regulating is on us. Let's do the right thing for those people to do the correct thing. Let's regulate these borders. Let's make sure they are tested. If they make a mistake, the fines are high. We make sure that we follow the road and road safety regulations. Let's make sure that these people are always educated on accidents. It is not just enforcing on helmets. It is not enforcement on reflector jackets. That is not sufficient enough. And let's have regulations that help the country, help those borders, and help all the road users. Because we cannot say it is only borders that cause accidents. No. Even pedestrians. Dr. Twaha, you speak.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue I want to emphasize as far as accidents are concerned are the enforcers themselves. Sometimes you wonder whether what the traffic officers do on these roads. How dare a badly loaded truck comes from Kabale to Kampala? How dare a badly smoking truck that dazzles everybody on the road moves up from Kabale to Kampala? How a DMC continues to move up and down and about all the streets of Kampala year after year. So in conclusion, unless the enforcers are up to their task, nothing will be done as far as improving.
And that's what somebody said, extortion of money that is making all that to happen. How dare you get a DMC on the road? Doesn't that amount to corruption? So the Minister of Internal Affairs really has to do a lot on that. Yes, Joan. I'm looking at people who have not spoken for some time.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I would also love to interest our Minister of Works, especially to invest more on road signs than the road humps. Because many of our borders tend to dodge the road humps and end up either falling off the road or ramming into another car. And also invest more in the Rambo strips, because we already have an example. Palisa Road has the Rambo strips. These Rambo strips warn you when you're actually getting off road, and you will get to know that my driving speed needs to be reduced. So I would love to interest you more in the road signs than investing more in the road signs. And also we have these humps that today you're passing on this road.
Honorable Minister, Honorable Joan, we are talking about both the borders, the cars, all that. So I don't think it is a good idea to remove the humps. We still need the humps to control speed of some Linus.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Between 9 and midday, you find that majority of traffic officers in Kampala are on social media along the roads. And then from 2 to 4, they resume the social media business. So I think the authorities concerned should also advise them on not to use their telephones when they're deployed to do their duties. Then finally, when Safe Border came with the operations in Uganda, their work was very good and their riders were disciplined. But now when politics came in from the bench, the government side, and then from the opposition side, especially the Lord Mayor, you find that the whole operation became a problem. Thank you.
Which Lord Mayor?
Lord Mayor of Kampala. Yes, Elias.
Who
I don't know
is
his name.
Honorable members? Honorable members? You talk all the time. You.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And I have thanked the chairperson for the statement.
After that, you'll Iganga.
Right Honorable Speaker, the chairperson did capture and talk about the highways, but he excluded Entebbe Highway. This is characterized by so many black spots. And one of the recommendations I would put across is to have pedestrian footbridge, the footbridge for pedestrians. For example, along Chitubulu, Nkumba, Kauku, Chitende, and Kajans, at most every week we have a fatal accident, and it is very hurting to see people die. I thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. You? And after him, then.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I come from Lugazi on the Dati Kampala Jinja Highway. Yesterday, we had a serious accident because of the potholes that are oriented. Tax number plate USZ 061. 8 people perished there and then. And I would like to bring to your attention, all of us who are candidates of Kaolo Hospital, that we have no standing ambulance or functioning ambulance at Kaolo Hospital. Second, Right Honorable Speaker, there are some people who cover their number plates with scaring words, MK Project 2026. These people, they drive badly on the roads, and even the police officers fear them. They drive badly, you know, they control everything. Right Honorable Speaker, information those issues. Thank you very much. They knock down borders, and they are not talked about because they have scaring words to the police officers. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, Kaolo Hospital. Honorable Prime Minister, I wish there was a way you'd improve on Kaolo Hospital. That is on a highway. All accidents that happen on that road will end up on Kaolo. Provide an ambulance for Kaolo Hospital.
Madam.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Iganga.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Then Butembe. Is that Butembe?
Yes.
Zijan.
Madam Right Honorable Speaker, as they consider Kaolo, even Iganga General Hospital is on the highway. And I wanted to bring the minister to the attention that sometimes their works and the UNRWA, they take some hotspots negligently. They don't consider. For example, on that highway, there is a place that we need a flyover. There are so many accidents that always occur. Even last month, a pupil was knocked down as she was going for her exams, her primary living exams. Because we've written, the LC1 has written, everyone has written, but they say they have their planning. So we are asking them to consider us. They put a flyover. It is called Chigobero. That's how we call it, but it is on the highway.
Zijan.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. In the report, we put emphasis on the contribution of the borders. What we didn't get was what percentage of those were actually victims of reckless users of motor vehicles. I think that when he hinted on the accidents that are caused by the DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol, I would think that it is the people who drive the motor vehicles, especially the middle income class of this country, those who are not wanting to support the alcohol control bill, that are actually causing the death of these borders. So borders are actually victims, but when we speak here, we castigate them as if they are the villains, whereas they are the victims, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, given the state of the bad roads, the ministry is always so reluctant to maintain these busy roads. You take an example of the road from Munjeru to Kampala. When you reach Mabira, Mabira has 1,000 potholes. Yet this is a busy road that has very many trucks from the border to Kampala. So I'm calling upon the ministry, at least to look into the issue of those busy roads, the cross-border roads. I thank you.
Brenda, then back to Ivanda, that line.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if we continue having highways without riding lanes, we will not stop these accidents. If you come to Kampala, most of the roads are two lanes.
but you will not find a lane for those who are just walking. Then there are the border riders, then there are cyclists. If we improve the roads and we give space for each user, we will reduce on the accidents. Go to Europe, see what happens. It's not very easy for a motorcycle to go and skid maybe on the side and ram into a rider, because the roads are well demarcated and there are provisions for each and every road user. So, Madam Speaker, the Minister of Works should actually, in this era, this century, you should be planning such. But you find a highway, a new constructed highway with
Honorable members, I know places that have that lane for riders, for pedestrians, but it's the behavior of these people. Let's have a mindset change. These people should be educated on how they should behave. Ivanda?
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I also want to thank the chair for good report. Right Honorable Speaker, I sit on physical infrastructure. All the time we complain about our road designs in this country. The problems emanate from road designs in this country. The roads are narrow, sharp corners, and you find these are the same roads that are causing accidents. Every other time, roads are being made in this country. The consideration of changing of road design in this country, they are not looking at that, and which is causing a lot of accidents. Secondly, the Right Honorable is about indiscipline. We have a lot of indiscipline on our roads. You see how the borders ride on our roads. You cannot believe. It's about the main change, the Right Honorable Speaker, the way you're saying. People should know that they have lives to protect.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam
Not you,
Speaker.
Rose, before you, Rose.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For record, Alfred Dakasi, representing Kabarimaido. Madam Speaker, on the issue of emergency places, I have ferried several people to Mulago Referral Hospital. Most times, the scans are not available. You reach there with the patient, they tell you go to Nakasero for a CT scan. And all over the country, most district hospitals, we still have district hospitals that don't have even a mere X-ray. So whereas we should be thinking about those on the highway, I think it's really important that we plan those equipment, because even if we reduce the numbers of accidents, there will always be accidents, and that's important. Secondly, Madam Speaker, the issue of people carrying many children, taking them to school and risking them on one border. If we could promote either through tax or whatever, the importation of tuk-tuks and limit the children at being
No, we can
seated
avoid overloading.
Yes, especially children, very early in the morning, 3 children, all of them in an accident. It is sad. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okalinga, Carol.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, when we talk about people getting involved in accident caused by recklessness, we go back to the kind of training that this person passed through. What kind of training is a border man required to have before being permitted on the road? Do we have schools? Do we have academies to train a standardized academy that trains a border person? So training is key before a person is given a motorbike or a driving permit. So to me, I am advocating for a standardized syllabus and designated academies to train whoever wants to ride on.
Carol?
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Allow me to appreciate the chairperson for the good report. And my concern, Right Honorable Speaker, is about parking for the border people. As much as we are talking about the speed and so on, when you go on Kampala Road, Right Honorable Speaker, they are parked left and right
considering that our roads are narrow. We really need to look into it and maybe get for those people where to park. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, the roads in our country, and I'm happy the Honorable Minister is here. I'll have to talk about Ruchiga. Our roads are in bad condition. And Right Honorable Speaker, I need to appreciate the Honorable Minister. You visited Ruchiga, our bridges, you know what is happening. I'm just asking myself after you visit Right Honorable Speaker through you, what
Honorable Achang.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I also want to join the rest of my colleagues to appreciate the Dr. Yume for having presented that good report. Honorable Speaker, my concern is on the overload of vehicles. Karamoja is one of the place that actually gets that actually has many trucks, heavy trucks, because of the minerals that they ferry from Karamoja. Right, Honorable Speaker, these heavy trucks are one of the causes of the road damages and also one of the causes of the road accidents due to overload. And this overload is actually as a result of lack of way bridges in the region. My prayer is for the Ministry of Transport to actually purchase way bridges to ensure that this.
Honorable members, the improvement of road safety will go beyond lip service to tangible and collective effort. Let us be each other's keeper. Let's use these roads responsibly. The irresponsibility and the recklessness of these riders, drivers, all those ones is what is causing problems in this country and causing a lot of death. And as the Minister of Transport has committed itself, that is coming up with a comprehensive paper together with the Internal Affairs and give us on a way forward on the action that you've taken. Let's not just talk. Give us an action that you've taken as the two ministries, as the two proceed on the speaker.
No, I'm asking just to proceed.
Let's have a report from you on what you have done for us to reduce or even eliminate the accidents on the road. So we'll be waiting for a report from you on the actions taken. You've had all the concerns of members of parliament, and this must be addressed. And these people are speaking for and on behalf of the people who voted for them, including the border riders. We also want to save the border riders. We are not saying we want them dead. We want to save them also by making sure by the time you ride, you are competent enough to ride. Yes, Honorable Minister. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, most obliged, I will, apart from the Minister of Works and Transport and then Internal Affairs, I wanted to beg Madam Speaker that another critical minister or ministry is that of health. The Minister of Health should be able to come with us and indicate to this House how prepared they are along the highways in as far as emergency response is concerned. I also will work with the Minister of Trade to make sure that they talk to Uganda National Bureau of Standards, because the tires that you are concerned about come through a system that apparently appears to be working, and sometimes they are cleared when they are not supposed to be on
And
the
then
road.
the trucks that pass on some roads with a design which is not supposed to accommodate such heavy road.
That is within our
heavy
market,
trucks.
Madam Speaker. We'll come up with solutions that we have tried to prescribe to address this hemorrhage.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, you realize that government stopped the importation of old vehicles. Currently, we are importing new cars, but the old cars that were within the country are still operating. I would like to find out from you, when are you stopping the operations of those old cars of 1980s, 1990s? They are still in operational and they are moving within the country freely. I would like to find out from you.
Honorable Minister, when you're coming, honorable members. Honorable Minister, when you bring your documents, then you come up with the response to that effect. And we need a comprehensive report, a multi-sectoral report on the action that has been taken. Honorable members, when you start talking at Kahunde, let the speaker first speak, then you can speak from out. Actually, next item is Kahunde. Next item.
Procedure, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes, there's a motion.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move a motion that the report presented by the chair of the Health Committee be adopted and the recommendations therein be captured and action taken by the line ministries. I beg to move, Right Honorable Speaker.
Is it seconded? Seconded by Aogon, by Silwani, Abe, budget, by Napak, Kahunde. Honorable members, I don't think any of you would have made a better report than that. And at first we thought it would be an informative report, but since we found it that it should be a report that is adopted by this House and the actions must be taken, I now put a question that the report by Honorable Yume on the state, on the magnitude of the road traffic injuries reporting to public hospitals in Uganda and the cost of treatment be adopted with its amendments. Those in favor say the contrary, nay.
Nay.
Who was that one using the microphone? Who was using the microphone? Who used the microphone? Who used the microphone? Can I have Hansard get for me the person who used the microphone? And I will take an action tomorrow on the person who used the microphone. The ayes have it.
Item 3, presentation of petitions. 3.1, petition of the Bududa landslide victims who are resettled in Kiriandongo district.
Honorable members, as you are aware, petitions are one of the avenues for us or for the public to give information and seek for support from this institution, from the August House, and they are very pertinent to us. For avoidance of doubt, the petition was put in writing. It is formal petition, not verbal, and usually signed by petitioners. And this petition in particular was signed by the petitioners. It was written to the office of the speaker, and based on that, under Rule 30 of Rules of Procedure, it provides for petition. This afternoon, we shall get a petition, and then we'll refer the petition to a committee. And the petition is by Honorable Kahunde Helen. Can we have the petition first on the landslide victims of Bududa? It is unfortunate Honorable Nambeshe is not here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Petition moved under Rule 30 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. The humble petition of the Bududa landslide victims of 1st March 2010, who were resettled in Chiriandongo district, presented on their behalf by myself, Kaunde Helen, the district woman MP, shows and states that your humble petitioners are the victims of the landslide events of the 1st March 2010 in Namaste village, Bududa district, which was recorded as the largest and most severe in terms of casualty numbers, in that at least 100 people are believed to have been killed and 94 bodies were recovered and several others displaced. Your humble petitioners state that A, they were resettled by the government of Uganda Chiriandongo district as a humanitarian intervention following displacement and total destruction of their homes, property, and sources of livelihood. That B, during the resettlement exercise, the government pledged to issue your humble petitioners with land titles and to construct housing structures for them and their families, a pledge that has not been fulfilled for the past 12 years. See, out of the 603 housing structures that the government promised to construct for the humble petitioners, only 289 have been constructed to date. And that out of the 289, 114 are incomplete, without windows, doors, water tanks, and pit latrines. They lack access to secondary education. E, they face insecurity and hostility from host communities with whom they contest ownership of land, especially due to the fact that the government did not issue with them land titles upon resettlement. F, on the 12th December 2018, Parliament adopted the report of the Committee on Presidential Affairs on the status of the resettlement of the landslide victims in the Elgon sub-region and resolved that government steps up interventions in developing the necessary infrastructure in Chiriandongo and ensures that programs intended by the Office of the Prime Minister for the resettled victims be mainstreamed in the local government structures of Chiriandongo district, but the same resolution has not been implemented, nor has an action report been filed in Parliament. Your humble petitioners have suffered for the past 12 years to no avail of effective government intervention and now seek the intervention of Parliament in their plight. Now, therefore, your humble petitioners pray that Parliament urges government to prioritize the construction of housing structures for the remaining 289 households and the completion of the 114 houses. Two, that government issues land titles to your petitioners as pledged by government, granting them legal ownership on the land. Three, that government should investigate the matter of insecurity and contention over land ownership among the resettled landslide victims with the end goal of granting the victims legal ownership over the land on which they were resettled. And your humble petitioners are duly bound and will ever pray. And here too, your humble petitioners have appended their signatures, Madam Speaker. And I want to lay the copy of the petition.
Thank you, Helen. Pursuant to Rule 36 of the Rules of Procedure of this House, I am referring this petition to the Minister of Relief and Disaster Preparedness for faster action to be taken place and report back to this House in 2 weeks' time. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank my senior colleague, Helen, for coming with this petition. And I thank you also for guiding to be able to have this report response from the field. I will ensure I will be there myself together with the team from the department, and we'll get back to the House in 2 weeks' time. I want to thank you.
Item number 3.2, presentation of petitions from the members of the pre-primary teachers training institutions, Uganda.
Nakut.
Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank you for the opportunity to have this petition read. When I met the teachers in July last year, they wanted to stage a protest. I told them to wait and give Parliament a chance. Thank you for that opportunity. This petition moved under Rule 30 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament of Uganda. The humble petition of the members of the Pre-Primary Teacher Training Institution Associations Uganda, PTIA, represented by me, the District Woman MP Napak. So went and states that your humble petitioners are members of the Pre-Primary Teacher Training Institution Associations Uganda, PTIA, an umbrella body registered under Uganda company laws, which brings together all proprietors and principals of pre-primary teacher training institutions, early childhood care and education specialists, representatives of ECCE teachers, researchers, and the academia, and established mainly to provide a platform that can offer information support, advocacy, and networking for ECCE teacher training institutions and professionals so that they can make informed decisions and choices to enhance the development of ECCE in Uganda. Your humble petitioners take cognizance of the frustrations faced by the stakeholders in early childhood care and education in Uganda due to lack of a proper policy and the disregard of available legal frameworks in handling issues arising therefrom. Your petitioners aver that the Education, Pre-Primary, Primary, and Post-Primary Act 2008 requires children aged 3 to 5 years to be enrolled in pre-primary schools so that by age 6, they are prepared to get enrolled into primary 1. B, early childhood care and education in Uganda is not evenly accessed because the subsector is one that is predominantly private-led, and its provision is highly influenced by the income status since it is solely financed by parents. This means that most ECCE centers are established in urban areas where parents can afford paying school fees, thereby leaving the majority of the rural poor without accessibility to ECCE services. C, the National Planning Authority in 2020, in its thematic reports, shows that over 76% of the persons responsible for enforcing ECCE rights from national to local level have little or no skill in ECCE, thus compromising the quality of ECCE in Uganda. D,
There are completely lack of standardized ECCE teaching learning materials in form of teachers' guides, resource books, pupils' books, students' textbooks, and other reference books, which is evident in both learning centers and ECCE teacher training institutions, most of which use improvised teaching learning materials. Government expenditure on ECCE over the years has always remained consolidated with that of primary section, and almost 100% of the entire budget goes to the primary section, leaving almost nothing to pre-primary, thus grossly affecting the education of the rural poor who cannot afford paying school fees in the learning centers and training centers owned by private individuals. Number 4, your humble petitioners further note that the education policy states, among other things, that for any teacher to teach in any ECCE center, he or she should hold a bachelor's degree, which is unfair for a subsector like ECCE in Uganda because of the following. A, government has only one single ECCE training institution, Chambogo University, that does not even attract a good number of students on its program, and has no single learning ECCE center throughout the country. B, government never sponsors any Ugandans to study any ECCE program at any level, and deliberately does not offer employment opportunities to a few trained ECCE professionals. C, Uganda does not have adequate trainers to train teachers and teacher trainers in ECCE pedagogy at all levels. D, there aren't enough caregivers, even at minimal levels, with certificate qualifications to manage the enormous number of children in need of ECCE due to low motivation for Ugandans to study and invest in any ECCE program. 5, your petitioners submit that imposing such a policy on ECCE subsector, which has very few qualified ECCE professionals, even at certificate level, is very dangerous to the education of children between the ages of 0 to 8 years, as it is likely that in the short or long run, the ECCE subsector will be hit with acute lack of ECCE teachers and caregivers. Now, therefore, your humble petitioners pray that Parliament urges the Ministry of Education and Sports to stay the national teachers policy in part in relation to ECCE until a proper legal regime is put in place to formally regulate the sector. 2, that the Ministry of Education and Sports to establish a national examination body for ECCE teacher training in Uganda, or direct UBTEB to examine ECCE teacher trainees. 3, that the Ministry of Education and Sports to support the current ECCE institutions to scale up the training of ECCE teachers and caregivers through the establishment of a strong public-private partnership with all ECCE teacher training institutions. And your humble petitioners, as in duty bound, will ever pray. And here too, we've appended our signatures. I have signed myself and the Honorable Kate Shumba Dixon of Shema Municipality and Honorable Ongerto Emmanuel of Jonam County on behalf of the petitioners. I submit.
Thank you so much, Honorable Nakot. Pursuant to Rule 36 of the Rules of Procedure, I am referring the petition to Committee of Education and Sports for perusal, analysis, and report back on the recommendations that they will have made. So the committee should be able to make analysis on this report. Minister, do you have anything to say? Or you want to handle it yourself?
Madam Speaker, now that you've referred the matter, I was of the opinion that you allow us as a ministry to handle the matter and report direct to the House rather than going to the committee, because
Yes, procedure matter.
Right, Honorable Speaker. Rule 30, under which this petition was made, enjoins you, Right Honorable Speaker, to refer a petition of this matter to either the line minister or the committee. In your opinion, Right Honorable Speaker, you have referred the matter to the committee. Would it be procedurally right for the Minister of Education to try and hijack your ruling and to try and hijack and take over when you have already guided? Would it be procedurally right, Right Honorable Speaker?
Well, I was only asking for an opinion. And in this understanding, he thought it would be faster with the ministry, but I am still maintaining the statement that it goes to the committee for us to be able to make further analysis on. Yes.
Yeah. Right Honorable Speaker, again under Rule 30, you are enjoined to give timelines. I seek your indulgence that the committee, because this referral is not the normal referral of the 45 days given to a committee by the rules. This referral enjoins you to give timelines. I seek your indulgence, Right Honorable Speaker, that the committee be given specific timelines under your guidance to report back.
Is the chairperson of education here? Honorable members, under Rule 3010, check your rules. A petition referred to a committee shall be disposed of within 45 days from the date of referral. Just for avoidance of doubt, the rules specify it. Next item.
Item number 4 on the order paper, motion for adoption of the report of the Committee on Human Rights on the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th annual reports of the Uganda Human Rights Commission for the years 2018, 2021.
Honorable members, during the second meeting of the second session, the House, as we agreed, will make priority on some matters pending annual reports of the Constitutional Commission. I'm glad the Committee of Human Rights concluded its report. It laid the report on table, and my imagination is that you read it. We are now going just to debate on the report. The chair will only make a preamble because you have the report with you, which has been laid on table. It is already property of Parliament. And where you want government to improve, please make suggestions for an improvement. And then the minister, we had asked for the Minister of the Constitutional Affairs. We don't have either of them. I hope the Minister of the Government Chief Whip will be able to handle. Chair.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving us this opportunity to present this report.
As you have already communicated, Right Honorable Speaker, this report of the Committee on Human Rights on the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th annual reports of the Uganda Human Rights Commission for the year 2018 to 2021 was uploaded on 2nd November 2022. It was also laid on table on 9th November. We therefore think that the members have already read this report and welcome the debate at this time. We thank you so much. Honorable members, the report was laid on table. You've read the report.
It is even
Debate the report. Articles on the debate. Boss, don't shout at me. Please. Sit. Sit. Atkins.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I will maybe seek your guidance as to whether I should speak on a procedural matter or debate. I said speaker, please.
Honorable members.
We have only one speaker in the
Honor-
House.
Assure them.
Yep, only one. And she's number 3. Number 3.
Honorable members, from the report I read, I looked at the recurrent challenges that cuts across all the reports. There is a case backlog, and of course, you know the effect it has. Atkins will stand up and talk about the Renzururu, the case backlog. And we are all aware that once you delay justice, you've denied justice. Number 2, I looked at the funding limitations for Human Rights Commission. Now I'm telling you, if you didn't read the report, the funding limitations, we need to make sure that for us to be able to, for them to be able to fasten on the process, we need to improve on the funding. Then the refugee rights and attendant challenges are also there. You see there was a petition from the refugees, from Honorable Kahunde, and that is very, very pertinent that we need to handle. Then there was lapse in compliance in natural resources and extractive industries related to activities on human rights. Then there was rights violation by the law enforcement and security agencies. There is a plight of prisoners. I am getting this from the report. Then there is food rights and nutrition challenges, where they don't have good food and those problems. Then there is sexual and reproductive health rights. The report talks about it, and let those who read the report alone debate on the report. If you didn't read on the report, you can leave, you can do the listening. I'll go on. You want to debate on the report? Okay, Atkins. Then I'll go on.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And you have eloquently guided and said it. Justice delayed is justice denied. Madam Speaker, this is a country of laws. And that's the reason why we have the Constitution. And our constitution is very clear. Nobody is above the law. And I'm happy, Madam Speaker, you sounded that in your guidance. Madam Speaker, our constitution clearly states that if a church or somebody is arrested, they should, first of all, the people effecting the arrest must do so in the language that somebody understands. Number two, that there should be clear identification. Number three, the people that the arrested directed art should be told or informed why they're getting arrested. And when they're arrested, and maybe they should go to a gazetted space or place. You could call it a prison or jail. And even when they get there, they should not go beyond 48 hours, or that is 2 days. Madam Speaker, November 2016, the date was 2026. It was a Saturday. Our people in Kasese were arrested. I won't go through the details because of time. Madam Speaker, battled up and put in under incarceration. Madam Speaker, it's now 7 years. The Constitution says 48. And there is a judgment that was put forward by Justice Ralph Achern and has become part of our laws. That says if somebody is in prison for 6 months with no just to conclude, Madam Speaker, I just beg, they must be released. Our people from Kasese, including our king, who is also your king, Madam Speaker, I know. Yes, unless Speaker says otherwise. 7 years down the road, they're still in prison. Madam Speaker, the report is very clear. This is something that is denting this country internationally. It was extremely absurd that the Attorney General, who support God government, went before an international audience and said the chamber and the violation of human rights does not exist in Uganda. We're getting a lot of negative feedback. Madam Speaker, we the people from Kasese have so far lost 12 people. They're in a prison. Their cases are unheard. They're about, as I speak right now.
Can you conclude?
I'm concluding, Madam Speaker.
I
They're
said
about,
before 1 minute. I don't know what's wrong with my people.
thank you very much, Madam Speaker. 7 of our fellow citizens in a prison need urgent medical attention. The hospital, the prison authorities are saying they don't have the medicine. They have to go to the hospitals. Madam Speaker, I don't know how many lives must we lose as people coming from the Renzo region for this government to act.
Honorable Atkins, can you
Conclude, yes.
conclude?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. If you really want, if government wants to continue incarcerating them in a prison, at least they should offer them the medicine. That is just a basic request. And also to say, can this government, Madam Speaker, give the Kasese people a Christmas gift so that the king and those that are still incarcerated with him can join the Kasese community and have Easter, Christmas festive season with the rest of the community. I beg to submit, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Honorable Atkins. And as we debate, we should not mix politics from criminality. Yeah, those are two different things. And then on the other side, The king of Rwenzururu is my king. All the kings in Uganda are my kings. Christine, lady first.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. On page 31 and 32, there are issues of human rights under Defense and Veterans Affairs. Right Honorable Speaker, the concentration was too much on the Karamajongs, but I would like to put it to this House that there are women and men who brought this government in power, 1986, that surrendered their crops, their everything, are still demanding this government to compensate them. And we have a serious number of people, over 5,000, convened in Rwamata. And they have been there for some time. And if you look at the living conditions they are in, is terrible. We have so far lost over 10 elderly people who have died from the tents over there. And up to today,
Christine, you said the concentration is on Karamojongs. Yeah, switch on. You said the concentration on Karamojong?
Yes.
Karamojongs are Ugandans, part of Ugandans, and they equally, all of us, including you in opposition, equally contributed to this government being in place. So let it be for the whole country. Don't tribalize it.
I concur with you, Right Honorable Speaker.
I am a Karamojong myself. Don't tribalize it.
My issue was only to concentrate on Karamoja and not other issues. But I also
let's not tribalize the report. The report is for.
Okay, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. That is what I was trying to request for the report as well, to look into the issues of human rights concerning the veterans who really brought this government
You
in
say
power.
the report should look at human rights on veterans for the whole country, not mentioning Karamoja. For me, remove Karamoja. Remove, no, I don't need an apology, but I'm saying remove Karamoja. You withdraw, no.
I withdraw the statement
of Karamoja
alone.
But it should be for the whole country.
But it should be for the whole country to concentrate on human rights for the entire country. Thank you, Right Honorable
Thank you
Speaker.
so much. Thank you. Gilberto. Hey, Gilbert is nearer.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I'd like to appreciate the chairperson of the committee for bringing up key information in this report. Right Honorable Speaker, looking at the issues concerning kidnaps and disappearance of people. Right Honorable Speaker, as a country, we need to be very careful. Currently, many people are disappearing. Many people are being kidnapped. And mostly the youthful people. Parents are crying for their children.
Honorable,
Yes.
Honorable, when you're saying many people, I want you to mention Gilbert has disappeared, Olanya has disappeared. I want factual debate, not just saying many, many, many. Who are the many? If you don't have the facts, don't debate.
Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker, the leader of the opposition table here names of many Ugandans who disappeared.
You leave the leader of opposition to conclude.
Okay, let me leave that way, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
But we need to take that very seriously.
on.
And secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, the conduct of the security personnel. I would like to thank the chairperson. The committee brought it clearly that the security personnel who are involving in unnecessary arrest, misconduct should be brought to book. Right Honorable Speaker, I pray, as you promised at a time, this parliament should appear different from other parliament. Let the committee's recommendation be implemented. And I know, Right Honorable Speaker, through you, all the recommendations here are going to be implemented for the betterment of this country. And finally, Right Honorable Speaker, we have prisoners who have been in prison for more than 20 years, 10 years, and they are not being taken to court. They are just there in prison. They do not know what they are doing, and many of them were arrested on land matters. They are just there rotting in prison. Right Honorable Speaker, let the committee's recommendations be taken up very seriously. Let those who have taken long in prison without being taken to court, let justice be placed onto them. And I pray for the betterment of this country, also to decongest our prisons. Right now, we have more than 80,000 people in prisons. Government is feeding them. They are spending a lot. Government is wasting a lot of resources on them just because they are not being taken to court. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to appreciate the committee.
Thank you so much, Honorable Awogon. Sila, if you want to speak, stand, I will pick you to speak. Don't derail my proceedings on procedure. Awogon, can you speak?
Right Honorable Speaker, I thank you for your voice. Right Honorable Speaker, this country totally needs the rule of law. And the entire chapter 4 of our constitution is about the rights. It's a full chapter which has the Bill of Rights. And Right Honorable Speaker, Uganda is signatory to most of the conventions internationally on human rights. Continentally, we are bound. Regionally, at EAC level, we are bound. And nationally, the Constitution is the motherboard of our laws. The question, Right Honorable Speaker, is that, do we still respect the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda? Those are the issues. I am not putting a question for a loud answer, but Right Honorable Speaker, for all of us to go back and think deeply about what we are doing as a country. Right Honorable Speaker, this House passed the Human Rights Enforcement Bill. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm happy that you've given me additional opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, we passed a good law here, Human Rights Enforcement Bill, which became an act of parliament. Government, how far have you gone in implementing this law? Why are we still seeing acts of impunity in our country? Why are we still having the drones picking people up and down? The ministers are here. Can you tell us today what is wrong? Why are we seeing some people not getting bail, yet it's a constitutional right? Those are the questions which are sticky, and they are sticking on us. Right Honorable Speaker. I still needed 10 minutes, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Ogon. Honorable Minister, the issue is on enforceability of the act that was passed by this House. Yes, the shadow held.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I realize that we are discussing a very important topic that is pertinent to largely the people we in the opposition represent, because, yes, because these people have been subjected to arrests with the drones without.
We are discussing issues pertaining to the people of Uganda.
Yeah.
People of Uganda not being represented by opposition per se.
Right Honorable Speaker, with your guidance, I believe it is due to your wise stewardship that you decided that we deliberate with the public in participation. And I think that's why the public is viewing us on these TVs.
Yes, the
My
public is-
concern.
Listen.
Yes.
I am saying we are discussing about Ugandans. Ugandans. Have you heard? And when the speaker is speaking, you sit. Let's not deviate this debate. We are discussing human rights, the rule of law for people of Uganda. Don't start making it like a constituency issue. It is not a constituency issue. Because today it is you who is arrested, tomorrow it will be me. So when you say for us in opposition, it is not for you in opposition. The report is for the people of Uganda. Don't tell us about your position.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I follow your guidance. So I'm concerned that the people of Uganda who are really participating in this debate, watching us on TV with a lot of anxiety, maybe the families of Honorable Alan Sewanyana, maybe the families of Honorable Segrinya, they've missed the most important part of the report. They did not receive this report on their computers or iPads. So if at all it's indeed true that the public is participating, not only us here in Parliament, would it be procedurally right, Honorable Speaker, that at least the findings of the report are read and we deliberate while the public is actually following all that we are discussing?
Honorable members, all Parliament information, all the documents of Parliament are public documents. Just enter into the website of Parliament and you will have that information. Ethel?
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, as we continue to deliberate on the matters of human rights, may the Ministry of Local Government aid the cause to ensure that district human rights committees are fully established countrywide, because it's also a gap. We cannot continuously only have matters here. They have to be decentralized.
That is the point.
Madam Speaker, I request, because I'm part of the committee of the Uganda Parliamentary Forum for Children, wherever we reach out to the probation officers, as indicated here on page 47, much as is their mandate and they're entirely supposed to do all this, but many times the facilitation and the police officers in charge of family units are really incapacitated. I beg, Madam Speaker, as we consider these matters, let's have the facilitation for the officers concerned so that these issues are always handled. Information.
Thank you, and that's why I said there was a funding limitation which needs to be sorted out. Shadow?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I only need to add, Right Honorable Speaker and members, recently the High Court, in the case of Robert Asimwe Akanga and Kalemera Stephen versus Attorney General and Director of Public Prosecution, made a declaration that any person who has been tortured, courts can no longer proceed to hear the cases, however strong the evidence can be. I think we should uphold and be incorporated in the report. Apart from that, the investigations should be carried out and the officers answer. We should add in
Counsel, repeat that statement that the person who has been tortured should not be what?
Yes, a person who has been arrested and in the course of being arrested and being detained, in that process has been tortured and later aligned before court. What happened before he reached court nullifies the proceedings.
Under which law?
And this is the case of
the Honorable Shuanuka.
I just want you to say it is in the Human Rights Enforcement Act. I am not saying it is not correct, but I wanted you to help the House. It is in the Act.
Right Honorable Speaker, I was quoting the case, the High Court case of the High Court, which is the Court of Precedent, and it is miscellaneous application number 7 and number 8 of 2022. Those applications were consolidated. I beg that this should be added and be made part of the recommendations that whoever has been tortured and aligned before court, the proceedings are a nullity and it can no longer
proceed with those
We
proceedings.
cannot add that because it's already in the law. There's already a case ruling in to the effect. We can't add that in the report. We are now looking for information to add on
Only
the
missed
report.
the recommendation, right, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Michiana.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For the record, my name is Joyce Bagala Mtuatwa, the Woman Member of Parliament, Michiana District. I'd like to appreciate the committee for that report, but to also note that while the committee met a number of victims of human rights abuse, especially people who were in safe houses, the Attorney General of this country went to Geneva and made a presentation to the effect that Uganda does not have safe houses. Yet in that committee, the people who were interviewed clearly indicated where the safe houses were, and even the members indicated that. So, Honorable Speaker, I would like to first of all ask, can we as a parliament get the report that was presented, or the statement that was presented by the Attorney General in Geneva, to peruse or to read the report and also make recommendations? But you also note that that presentation, that report was actually not true. It is not a true representation of the human rights situation in Uganda.
Solomon, Silvania has gone. Yes. Okot. Leave for procedure.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I didn't intend to disable my comrade from debating, the Honorable Commissioner, but to pick the issue in earnest raised by the Honorable Joyce Bagala, that the country's Land Attorney General made a presentation, of the status in this country of human rights in Geneva, and that that statement was a departure from what we are debating here. Would it be okay, right, Honorable Speaker, if you ordered the Land Attorney General to come to the House and share with this Honorable House the issues he presented at an international plane in representation of the country, so that we can applaud him for good presentation? To be good to have the Land Attorney General record for our appreciation for that presentation, and that the same document in the same tone is presented to the attention of the House, Honorable Speaker. It will be a very good thing. It's also decent that as part of tracking government commitment, because I am sure he was tracking and presenting government commitment on human rights, that we share in his document so that we can have it on record as representing the true state of human rights in this country. Otherwise, he might be misconstrued. I don't know what the Honorable Gwanga is thinking about that report because it was not there. So we
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I don't know if safe houses was part of the report, and if it was it part of the report? Rose.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm a member of the Human Rights Committee. We try to interrogate, investigate, and look for where the safe houses are. Madam Speaker, I want to be on record. There are no safe houses. We try to ask our witnesses to direct us where the safe houses are. They could not direct us anywhere.
Only Fox,
Madam
Fox. Honorable members.
Thank you very much.
Silence. Fox.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, by the grace of God, I am the substantive chair.
Honorable members, can I have silence?
Right Honorable Speaker, by the grace of God, I'm the substantive chair of the Human Rights Committee. The Human Rights Committee spent close to 2 years looking for safe houses. We tasked the police
We tasked our witnesses. We did not find any safe house.
Honorable members, we'll ask the Attorney General to come and bring the report. Honorable Wang.
Madam Speaker, now that the records have been set clear, can I ask the Leader of Opposition and Honorable Joyce Bagala to withdraw that statement so that they are expunged from the records of Parliament?
Honorable, the report was made. When the report was, which people were in that committee? Which members were in, Joyce? Which members were in that committee? Did you make a minority report? And if you didn't make a minority report to say that you saw safe houses, then what do you expect of us? But what is important, the Attorney General will bring the report here and we'll debate on the report. No, what I've said, there was no minority report which said otherwise. Okay.
Honorable Speaker, at a high risk, let me remove my mask.
You put on your
I'll speak
mask.
from a distance.
I don't want honorable. Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for your kind indulgence. For the record, it's not a contest between the authors of the report, the existence or the non-existence of a house versus the complainants. For the record, I have never seen a signpost of a safe house. Okay? There has never been a signpost. So the honorable folks, I favorably refer to as the old folks, is a very experienced man in this country, and he knows for the record that a lot of and denial does not solve the problem we're trying to solve. 2 weeks ago, right, Honorable Speaker, and I'm glad General David Muhoozi is here. The police on record reported that they had withdrawn from SIU Chireka because they were not in charge, and some people were holding their people as safe houses, and they're not in charge of detention centers at Chireka. This was by the police.
Honorable,
So what about the fact that they are signposts? So the tortured people are not moved in broad day.
Can we hear from Honorable?
Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members.
Honorable members, cool your tempers down.
Regarding Chireka, it's a gazetted police station.
Thank
And
you.
I don't know why the LoP calls it a
LoP,
safe house.
LoP, I've never known you for that. No, I've never known you for that. I know you're one. I have always known LoP, and you know LoP, I am going to give you to give the statement. He has already said that's a gazetted area. So you're going to give, you have a right to reply. You have a right to reply. Gemma?
Right, Honorable Speaker, I think to put this matter into context, it is true the committee may not have found any evidence on that. And let's respect the position of the committee, because the committee investigates and is fed with information. If this information was not within their reach, then they are right to make that conclusion. Now, does that take away the existence of safe houses? Right, Honorable Speaker, in the 10th Parliament, the late General Eli Tumwine, may his soul rest in peace, confirmed the existence of safe houses.
Honorable,
It is on record.
Honorable Gemma, we agreed in this house that we must have evidence-based debate. And if there is no evidence that these safe houses are there, so let's not take it that they are there. It's not because they are not there. Honorable Government Chief Whip.
Right Honorable Speaker, may I request to put this on record that any Ugandan arrested on reasonable suspicion of having committed a crime or about to commit a crime is detained at a gazetted detention center. And these centers are known to all of us. Thank you.
Are you done with your statement? You're done with your statement? Solomon Silwanyi.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I wanted to refer to page 192 of the report and 191. These two pages are talking about the increasing cases of defilement that are settled casually out of court. Right, Honorable Speaker, we passed the Judiciary Administration Bill in this Parliament. And what was contained in this bill, Right, Honorable Speaker, there was an agreement, and that was made law in Parliament, Right, Honorable Speaker, that every sub-county is going to have a magistrate at that level that would handle such cases of defilement, Right, Honorable Speaker. Now the question, Right, Honorable Speaker, that I want to ask the Minister of Constitutional Affairs, how far with the sub-county magistrates? Because we need these cases of defilement to be sorted out, Right, Honorable Speaker, because these involve our children to avoid backlog, because these are capital offenses, but they start from the sub-county magistrates courts, Right, Honorable Speaker. That is the clarification that I wanted to seek from the Minister of Constitutional Affairs, Right, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I take this opportunity to thank the committee for the detailed report. My concern is about discrimination of children with disabilities. The committee recommends that the People with Disabilities Act is amended to criminalize discrimination and even neglect of those children. Madam Speaker, we have a very big challenge in this country. Those children are being neglected, they are being discriminated, yet they have the brains that we could use as a country to develop and prosper as a nation. Madam Speaker, before there is this amendment, the Ministry of Gender should educate The Ministry of Gender should educate all Ugandans about the plight of those young children with the disabilities, such that even when we have not amended the act, we are there to protect those children because they belong to our society and they have potential like any other children. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Mudime.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker and members, our Constitution says one is before he's charged, one should be proved guilty. I have a case where two people were arrested and charged on murder. But after some time, and they were sentenced to death.
You say that call what? It's 28.
28.
Presumption of innocence.
Those people are still in Luzira, but after charging them, sentencing them to death, they sentenced them in 1991. All of a sudden, someone appeared with the clothes of the person who who died. So those people are still there, been negotiated. Madam Speaker, 1 minute. They are here in the Luzira Upper Prison. They are saying government will not manage to handle the issue of compensation. So my appeal and the Committee of Human Rights, go to Luzira and ask for Massa and Goni. All evidence is there. He said they were wrongly prosecuted. So we want them to at least be released. For us to not ask anything from government. There are two. Thank you.
Honorable members, I think what Honorable Mudime is saying affects most of us. It affects most of us. Because of politics, some of us one time were implicated for nothing. Because of politics. So you will find, depending on the person who is investigating your case, how much you're giving that person. So we need to be fair in the whole process. We need to be fair. There was a
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My issue is on prisons, Madam Speaker. The conditions in our prisons are very appalling, Madam Speaker, to the extent that the level of congestion is beyond control now. We call in government to come in and expand the prison because, Madam Speaker, people do not have where to sleep. Actually, you find people sleeping just like on one another in prisons. Yes. Madam Speaker, the issue of the bucket system. People sleep next to the buckets where they have put that one. So, Madam Speaker, when these people are being taken to hospitals, they walk long distances. Madam Speaker, when they're working outside the prison, they take them to work, people's gardens and elsewhere. These people are beaten. When we are talking about torture, there is zero torture in these prisons. There are people they call the catechuros. They are prisoners also, but they are put in charge of fellow seniors. They are very dangerous, Madam Speaker. They beat with impunity. They kick with impunity. They do everything with impunity. Madam Speaker, as government, we should come in and check the conditions in our prisons because of all potential candidates, and we represent even those people in prisons. And the matter of human rights, human rights must be given to everybody, regardless of whether you're a prisoner or what or what. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Dorcas.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And I want to thank the members for the deliberation so far. Not to repeat on anything, Right Honorable Speaker, the committee has noted and has put for us very good recommendations, which I agree with. And one of them, which is a sticky area, which is about the conditions of the juveniles who are in the detention centers. Yes, we know we have the remand homes for children in various parts of the country, but the conditions of those children is very deplorable. And in the short term, we know that things like food or welfare of the children is priority and is a basic human right. As we work on clearing the case backlog, can we at least ensure there is food, at least food? When we moved around, most of the centers were reporting that quarterly, they are receiving very little portion of food. And the children themselves are also complaining. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Gwen.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I have gone through the report, and I think the report was done in good faith. However, last year, around October, I did raise in this house about the continuous killing of my people from the upper belt of Benet. And this is being done by trained officers who are working under Uganda Wildlife Authority. I mentioned here, I talked about the killing, I talked about the rape, beatings, cutting of food, and the minister said he was going to investigate the matter. So it beats my understanding when we come up with very serious reports and we do not follow up. It beats my understanding. Otherwise, I beg members here that we should we should follow up with all our reports, because it is not wasting time. We do it for a purpose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to put you on notice, on Thursday, we shall have action taken reports as per Rule 220. It will be on the order paper. We will have only 2 items. Let's discuss on actions taken on all the reports that have been presented to this house. Rakai, then LoP.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. First of all, I want to really appreciate the good effort of the committee. The recommendations are really amazing if well implemented. I have a concern on the land conflict in this country and the backlog of land cases. When you watch news in this country, it is all full of land conflicts, land issues, land grabbing. And the committee cites that there should be strengthening of the area land committees, the area land committees, district land boards, and the local councils. Those are the LCs. But when we investigate the issue of land grabbing, it also goes to the regional offices where they just issue titles because the district land board recommended without going on ground. One of the recommendations should be that also the regional land officers should first confirm with what the district land committee signed for. And the other concern is that 80% of the Ugandans are on customary land. I want to appreciate the committee that it's recommending a facilitation, a land fund, so that all Ugandans get titles that will solve the issue or the injustices of land grabbing. Thank you so much, Right Honorable.
Honorable Enos, LoP, Government Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I saw a recommendation on Public Order Management Act to be reviewed by Uganda Law Reform Commission. This is something which is very good and it has to be done as quickly as possible. Uganda Law Reform Commission should review. I participated in election, especially on
who is supposed to repeal an act of parliament? Who is supposed to repeal it?
Right Honorable Speaker, Parliament repeals, but the recommendation is that there should be a comprehensive review conducted by the Law Reform Commission, which is the constitutional body that is supposed to review legislation.
It is reviewing, not
reviewing.
Okay.
Yeah.
The record must be corrected.
Some information there.
Yes,
Yeah. Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Speaker. With due respect to the chairperson of your Human Rights Committee, that thing came on the constitutional petition, number 56 of 2013. And they said it contravened Article 29. That is section number 8 of Public Order Management Act. To the extent that the Constitutional Court have really ruled themselves, saying that it is unconstitutional to all that section number 8. Now that it has come to that level, to me, I think we are the custodian of the constitutions. We would just accept so that we bring either the amendment to the act and we repeal it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Then I was on the election. In a by-election. And members, we all have to cherish and embrace freedom. We need freedom. At least I participated in Soroti East by-election, where even my vehicle was imprisoned. A lot of our people were what? Imprisoned, because not only impounded. They just decided to take it and keep it. And I had to use motorcycle. I would like us to look at the Electoral Commission issues critically, that we are all Ugandans. And when we want freedom, we should actually abide by what is.
Thank you so much, former leader of opposition. It's all about Yoka, which was arrested. At least the car was arrested, but you're not arrested. And the question I would ask, what were you doing in Soroti? Okot.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is a high time we should have to remember that Ugandans, there are about 45 or so million people. And the majority of Ugandans, they are very religious people, to the extent that if something is not moving and going well with each other, we should follow the rules of law. Am I protected? Thank you, Madam Speaker. In this country, we have the rule of law. But in this country still, there is the group of people who normally, they call themselves mafias, to the extent that it threatens the life of even high-profile people in this country.
I have never seen anybody calling himself mafias. You are the one calling them mafias.
Well, Madam Speaker, thank you. The point I'm trying to raise is, now that we live under the rule of law and we observe human rights, Ugandans and those people who normally put other people with depression and people move as if they are people beyond the rules of law.
Solomon, you're speaking next. Come back.
With impunity. They should know that this country, unless we organize it and we follow the rules, we follow the laws, it will not be comfortable to all of us, including themselves. Then finally, Madam Speaker, the committee noted that in page number 5, that Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Trades, Industry and Cooperation, cooperative, the way I put it, they did not attend the meeting, much as they had been invited. And yet, externalizations of labors, issues about our traders, that the committee would have picked those information. Why do they don't respect the committee? And yet this parliament is the place where Ugandans sit and discuss their issues. I think the committee, we thank you so much for that. If the rooms would still be given for them, and the question you want to ask them, please, you have to give it, because we want to hear them also clarifying the areas regarding their dockets. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Enos.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to thank the team for the good report they have made or presented to us. On page 9, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that the Electoral Commission should ensure that polling stations are devoid of any campaign materials, including money that can be used for electioneering and buying votes on the polling day. Through you, Madam Speaker, I want to ask the minister in charge of internal affairs to help us bring improvements on the election laws, specifically election financing. It's one of the biggest challenges we have, and we are yet to have. That's number one. Number two, Madam Speaker, through you again, I want to ask Cabinet, of course now through the Government Chief Whip, to strengthen our policies on getting military out of civil matters. It is one of the with human rights.
Leader of Opposition. LoP, 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I will be very brief. First of all, to take a recognition of the fact that the committee was dealing with backlog of 4 reports, annual reports, meaning that somewhere, somehow, the Committee of Parliament did not handle these reports with the expediency they deserve as a matter of right and attending to rights. So we need to take recognition of the fact that the inordinate delay in managing these reports is also injurious to the entire cause of rights. So this being a new committee, I would like to applaud them for dealing with the backlog and bringing it to scratch. That said, I'll deal with briefly 4 issues. One on page 16 of the report that refers to the mandate of the Rural Reform Commission in dealing with laws that are either obsolete or require immediate amendment. I have, through Parliament, interacted with this agency of government. We all know its attendant challenges in dealing with revising the legislation. Right, Honorable Speaker, one of the issues that this Parliament has failed to deal with is a concept of post-legislative scrutiny. I recollect in the 9th Parliament, there was a conversation on the floor of this House to put in place a committee to deal with post-legislative scrutiny, to look at laws and how they work, because we legislate and these laws must be functional. Non-functional laws on our statute books that gather dust and fail to get the traction for are actually a bother to the public. I'd like to imagine that the time has come for us to engage with the Committee of Rules to consider this committee. This committee is very critical to our work as legislators, to review and look at the functionality of the laws we make. I was in this House when, for example, the Public Order Management Act being referred to on page 16 was being debated and enacted. And we warned its nature and its unconstitutionality. Nobody listened because it was political expediency. Now, it is now back to note that actually it was unconstitutional. So we need to deal with that committee, Right Honorable Speaker, to deal with the laws we make and consider their efficacy as society evolves. 2, I'll take it from
the President of GEMA.
Thank you, my boss, for giving way. The idea you raise goes beyond post-legislative scrutiny, but equally addresses pronouncements of court on various pieces of legislation that this House has passed. Colleagues would want to know that, for example, the issue of 7 years that this House passed is still in our law books. It is still there. The 7-year term. You talk about obsolete laws, and there are really very many.
So,
you are talking. You see things
what
like.
do you want to do with the 7 years?
No, the point I make, Right Honorable Speaker, with the few minutes my boss has given me, is that the laxity of the institutions to address changes in laws arising out of pronouncements of court. Court has pronounced itself on provisions in the Divorce Act, the Public Order Management Act, you have raised it. The other day, the court made a pronouncement on Nakivubo War Memorial Stadium Act. And all those are still there. Obviously, the 7 years is still on our law books. I want to inform you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable, are you putting us on notice that you're bringing back the?
Right Honorable Speaker, I intend to bring a private member's bill to address amendments that have been pronounced by courts of law on 7 years, on the Public Order Management Act, on Nakivubo War Memorial Stadium Act,
Omnibus,
and the term limits, the age limit, the Divorce Act, all these provisions that have been declared unconstitutional.
Thank
I
you.
will,
thank you.
and I'm putting you on notice, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much. I have seen the most popular one is 7 years.
Right
yes.
Honorable Speaker, for the record, the member is putting the House on notice, not the Speaker. That
He's
is to
putting
be-
the House, not the Speaker.
not the-
Yes. Not me.
Right Honorable Speaker, observation is on page 13.
Can we summarize and?
I am actually being very brief, save for the interruption of my senior at the bar. He can deny me audience in court if I do not give him time. I want to invite my brother not to get tired. This is about us. Right Honorable Speaker, the other is page 13, as very brief. It relates to a recommendation and what the Electoral Commission said about the size of a polling station, that for the record, they consider the polling stations to have at least 800 voters in the countryside and 1,200 in the congested urban centers at the very limit. Honorable Speaker, the law is very clear on how constituencies and the polling stations are created. The reason why the is equivocal on all these matters because the Electoral Commission, Right Honorable Speaker, has never pronounced itself on the population quota. It's the basis upon which constituencies are created. Constituencies are created randomly because the guidelines are not followed. Sometimes out of mere political expediency.
But by the way, we should not blame anybody for creation of constituencies. It is political. We are the ones who push. This parliament here, it is the one who pushes for creation of constituencies.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with you, which is why the parliament is occupying a void because a designated institution, which is the EC, is not taking up its mandate. After census, the Electoral Commission is supposed to pronounce a population quota. That will be the basis for creating a constituency, and that's not done. So I'd like to invite Parliament to consider this as a very serious. Now that very soon you're going to have a census, we should really come out after this with a well-known population quota, and the agitation should really be well considered. The second last is page 12, right on the Speaker, relating to, again, the work of the Electoral Commission. I'm avoiding the other issues because I know they have been debated. The government is simply being adamant or scared. The
Honorable, government is not adamant. Wait to get a response from government.
Of course, I agree, right, Honorable Speaker. I think it's the question of the word is I choose badly to mean the same thing you are referring to, but I'll be careful next time.
You know, for me and you, we don't choose bad words. So that is a very bad word for
Right,
a
Honorable
Catholic
Speaker.
like you.
No, the government is just reluctant, not adamant.
Okay.
So we shall probe their reluctance, what motivates it in dealing with these serious matters. The issue of the committee is just on page 12, talks about the recommendation that the Electoral Commission should adequately train electoral officials on basic requirements, procedures, and standards. And my question to the committee leadership, did you probe the Electoral Commission in how it has dealt with very incompetent officials that have meddled with elections at polling stations, at polling centers, have been dropped on the premise of sheer incompetence or sheer partisanship. Because if we do not see this being talked about here, it means that the conversation with the EC was casual and customary. But we'd like to see more serious, recommendations made at their reluctance. Finally, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, we, on page 10, I can omit that. I can look at page 9, finally. Right Honourable Speaker, page 9, a matter that refers again to the Electoral Commission. I'm concentrating here because, Right Honourable Speaker, most of the troubles that relate to the violation of rights are based on our political disagreements that have not been settled. Then some people elect to settle them with sheer might other than reason. That's why I want the EC, I hope that's not sabotage on our rights to debate. I'm concluding, whoever is trying to sabotage, Right Honourable Speaker. The EC is lamenting to the committee about their failure to deal with polling stations and managing polling centers. And on page 9,